And it's that time of year. It's college football season. And welcome to the same show, but with a new name. We're going to call it Johnny and the Encyclopedia's College Football Show with my co host here, Connor, the Encyclopedia Hibbett. How you doing today, Connor?
I'm doing great, John. I
Yeah,
love
you
that
like
intro.
that
That was
name? You
great.
like the name? What do you think about the name?
I love that name. And that was a tremendous intro, and I appreciate that. That was awesome. Love it.
All right. Yeah, I was workshopping it last night. You know what? I was like, you know what? I think this is clean. This is nothing too crazy. I think it's perfect. So I want to welcome everyone in. I want to welcome Connor in, and we'll go ahead and right now we're gonna retweet online. We're gonna be live on YouTube and Twitter. We'll be doing this every Friday, as like we did last year, and hopefully every Monday at some point. That way we can review the weekend and look at headlines going into the week and the weekly games once we get to that part of the season. But for today, we're going to go over our market, our futures market, our research, our plays, everything that we have going on right now. From myself, Connor will talk about the college football playoff, the Heisman race, and then we'll get into Connor's look at headlines that he has throughout the season. And then finally, we'll jump into week 0 where we get the college football season started. Let's go ahead and jump into it right now, Connor. Let's hear about your futures research over the summer and what you have right now with the futures market.
Well, the very first few teams I was looking at way back in the spring, I was looking at Maryland for the over for their win total and Vanderbilt for the under for their win total. I know I talked
Mm-hmm.
about those to you way
Yeah.
back during high school baseball season. I was working some camera for high school baseball, and I was um, sending you those videos that I had made for
Yep.
those two teams. And so right away, as soon as those prices opened up on FanDuel, as soon as they were released, I took Maryland over 4.5 wins. It was at minus 122. This would have been way back in March. And then I took Vanderbilt under 6.5 at a plus 104 price. At
Mm-hmm.
that point, we're talking maybe 5-10 minutes after those win totals were released. Vanderbilt was actually slightly shaded to the over, about minus 128, if I remember correctly, at 6.5, and just slight a plus money value there to the under at plus 104. So I took Vandy under 6.5 plus 104. That's now at 5.5, shaded to the over. We're FanDuel here. And then I took
Vanderbilt at 5.5.
Vanderbilt's now at 5.5.
And what's Maryland at right now? Because if some of y'all remember, and I know you will, Connor, I was high on Maryland last year,
Yep.
and they lost, I don't know, more than half their games on the last possession of the game. So
Yeah.
what is it right now?
So what I took it at 4.5, over 4.5, minus 122. It's now at 5.5, heavily shaded to the under. And I'll tell you right now, John, I would still take the over at a plus value for Maryland. I think they're going to get at least to a bowl game. And if you're, for those listening in right now, if y'all are into the alternate win totals, Maryland is a team that I would look at for alternate overs at like 6.5, maybe even 7.5. Because John, I would not be shocked if Maryland legitimately went 7-5 or 8-4 in the regular season.
So you're thinking, because I know, if I don't know if Maryland's win totals are available on Kalshi. I know Kalshi prediction market, you're able to do what you're talking about and have an alternate total. Normally that's available at DraftKings. Did you find that anywhere else?
Yes, so the alternate win totals, they are available at DraftKings. You can also find on DraftKings teams to win an exact amount of games. And so you
Uh-huh.
can find like Maryland to win. I'd have to pull it up right now. I don't have it pulled up at the
It's
moment,
okay.
but you can find those exact win totals at DraftKings, and you can also find alternate win totals at DraftKings. But yeah, if you just want to do the regular priced win total at the moment for the Terrapins, that's currently at 5.5 juiced under. So you do have that plus value to the over. But I remember posting it on CFE way back in March.
Mhm.
I love Maryland over 4.5, and it wasn't even juiced that much.
Yeah.
And so that's a really confident bet of mine. And then Vandy, I'll talk a little bit more about the Commodores there. That was a veteran team last year. In fact, they were the oldest team in the SEC in 2025. They lose the most production in the country of all P4 teams, at least according to Bill Connolly's returning production stats and figures there. Vandy, so they were under, I got him under 6.5 plus 104. When you look at Vanderbilt's schedule this year, you would think they would start 2-0. They play Austin P from the FCS, who, by the way, like Austin P is a good FCS team, but they're not at the level of like a Villanova, UC Davis, North Dakota,
Mhm.
South Dakota State. We can go on that list.
Yeah.
They're not at that level, but they might be like a top 25 ish FCS team. But that's a game Vandy should win by at least 3 touchdowns or so. And they're probably going to be favored by around 30. I think
Uh-huh.
that's what the look ahead line is for that matchup, if I'm not mistaken, right about 30. And then Vandy, they host Delaware from Conference USA. I'll talk about Delaware later in this video, hint, hint. But they host the Blue Hens, and Vandy should win that game. Like they're going to be favored by probably around 15, 16, 17, somewhere in that range. Vandy may not cover. I actually might take Delaware to cover in that matchup
Mhm.
if that line is all the way up to that point, but at that mark. But Vandy should start 2-0. After that, I'm not sure how many more games they're going to win. They host North Carolina State from the ACC. NC State was a young team last year who returns a little bit more production now for this fall. And Vandy was the veteran team last year. Now they're the younger team. And
Mhm.
everyone was hyping up Jared Curtis. I haven't even gotten to Curtis yet. The 5-star true freshman who was originally supposed to go to Georgia, and then Vandy kind of stole him from Georgia in the
This is the
recruiting class.
quarterback, right?
Yeah, he
And
was supposed
is he gonna be the starter?
he everybody thought he was, and then they announced it a couple of days ago that he's not going to be the starting quarterback this year.
Oh, wow.
Well, at least to start the season off, but I bet Vandy runs a multi-quarterback system this year.
Who is gonna start for Vanderbilt?
I forgot his name, but I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, because I
He
don't know who else they have on their
is it
roster.
Blaze something? Let me see. Vandy.
Yeah, I'm not too sure who
Blaze
they have.
Berlowitz.
Berlowitz. I don't know who that is.
He's a veteran. I'm pretty sure he followed Diego Pavia around. He was the backup to Diego
In New
Pavia wherever
Mexico
Pavia.
State?
He was I'm pretty sure he
Really?
was the backup to Pavia at New Mexico State.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So that is yeah, especially because isn't he like one of the highest paid players or at least like one of the highest paid freshmen coming into the season?
That's correct. Yeah, Jared
Yeah.
Curtis is. But
Um
uh, regardless of who Vandy goes with there, I think, well, if they go with Curtis, the ceiling's higher, the floor is lower. With Berlowitz, the floor is higher, the ceiling is much lower. So
okay.
regardless, I just think Vandy is in a transition year of sorts, which is rare nowadays because so many teams are like, we got to win right now. And so they go get experienced guys in the portal to kind of plug in holes, especially if they feel like they might be going through a youth movement at a
Mhm.
particular position. They'll get someone that has higher floor potential. They may not be an All American or first team or second team All Conference, but they can trust them to a degree because with freshmen, with youngsters that are inexperienced, you always have the factor of the unknown. But I think Vandy is still in transition, regardless of who they go with at quarterback. The
Eh,
receiver room, I don't think is anything special. The offensive
mhm.
line loses 4 starters from last year. I do think the running back room is good for Vandy. So probably
Oh,
last.
I oh, never say something you kind of you cut out there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I'm not sure. I don't know. You're good. You're good. You're good.
So yeah, off
No,
Vandy.
you cut out again. I don't know what I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's like this audio doesn't want me to talk about Vanderbilt.
I know. I don't know. Go ahead.
So they're in transition on offense and defensively. They lose a lot of production from every single level last year. And again, that was a very experienced and a veteran team for the Commodores last fall.
Mhm.
And now Vandy goes from returning some of the most production in the SEC to losing the most production in the SEC and the most production overall in the P4. So I'm looking at Vandy like, can they make a bowl game? That's how I'm looking at them. And so when the market opened up at 6.5 at FanDuel, slightly shaded to the over, and I had, just a little bit of plus money there to the under, yeah, I thought that was a really good play. Now at 5.5, I would still lean to the under, and you do have a
Mhm.
plus value there, but I would not make it best bet material. That's not something that I would put hard earned money on at the moment.
So
But
you got 6.5 at plus money to the under, and
mhm,
now it's at 5.5 juiced over
correct,
currently? Okay,
correct. At fan everywhere you look, it's at 5.5 juiced over.
okay. What
I
else do
mean,
you have? What else?
there might be a crazy, like, minus 190 to the under
Mhm.
maybe at some place, but I mean, that's really something that I would bet. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no good pricing out there. If there's an alternate out there, it's not at a good price. Now, if you want to put that in a parlay with other alternate win totals, then I think that would be fine. But just to
And does DraftKings let you parlay win totals?
they do,
Oh, really?
but it has to be like a same play parlay. Like you can't like
Like, it has to be a season win total with another
yeah,
season
like
win
if you're
total.
gonna
Okay,
yeah.
okay. That makes sense, but, I've never tried that, so I had no idea. What else do you have? What else did you find over the summer?
Well, the very first G6 team that I was waiting for, in the win totals
Mhm,
market was Air Force. I know I talked with you late last regular season that I was looking at buying Air Force,
mhm,
for 2026. Like, that was a team that was much better than their record indicated last year, and I don't remember if I talked a whole lot about Air Force's quarterback last fall, but I am a huge Liam Zarka enthusiast. Like,
Was he a freshman last year? I know, like, half of their team were freshmen.
yeah, a lot of that defense was freshman. I think he was a sophomore. Let me pull him up real quick.
Okay, well, that's not bad, then he'll be a junior this season.
I'm gonna
Uh,
pull him up. You would think with me being a Zarka enthusiast that I would know every little fact about him, but let me pull him up.
yeah, I couldn't, because I'm pretty sure that's who I was thinking of. I thought they
Yeah,
had a
he was a
he's a
sophomore last
sophomore.
year. Yeah.
Okay. And
So
what was their win total?
so when it first opened, it was at 6.5. You can
Uh-huh.
still find 6.5 out there, but when I got it in early May, actually, yeah, early May, it was at 6.5, slightly shaded to the over, like minus 130. And
Mhm,
DraftKings, I believe, was the first major sports book to release G6 win totals. And that was like a best bet of mine, like 100%. And
mhm.
now at some places there might be like 180 out there, minus 190 that you would have to be laying juice for.
To the
But
over?
oh yeah, over.
Mm.
Over 6.5 for Air Force,
Well,
100%.
how many wins do you think they'll get this year?
I think they'll be 8-4 and 9-3.
8-4, 9-3?
And now at I don't know, I don't think it's at every place, but I know at least some places they're at 7.5. Like FanDuel, which is a place that opened G6 win totals, second or third to DraftKings.
Mhm,
I believe when FanDuel first released Air Force over 6.5, it was shaded to the over at 6.5. I want to say that was around like minus 140 ish, and now it's at 7.5 at FanDuel for Air Force.
okay.
There's been a lot of people that have been on the Air Force bandwagon, but just letting people know, like, I was one of the very first people on Air Force. Like, I was looking at 2026 Air Force in October of 2025.
Mhm,
So this is a team that returns a lot of production. Liam Zarka is 100% a player to keep an eye out for this fall. Like, not just in the Mountain West, not just in the G6, but nationally. I think Zarka could be a huge breakthrough player this season. And then elsewhere around Zarka with the Air Force offense, the offensive line could be one of Air Force's best since probably 2019 when they won 11 games that year.
mhm,
And then the receiving core, it's not usually a strength for Air Force, but I do think it could be this year. I don't think it has to be for them to break through, but I'm
mhm.
saying, like, just to add a little bit more here, I do think Air Force has a pretty good receiving core this year. And then the running back room led by Owen Allen is one of the best in the Mountain West, if not the best overall. So, of course, UNLV has a really good running back room as well. New Mexico's running back room is pretty good. There's a lot of good running back rooms in the Mountain West, but Air Force has one of them. Something else to keep in mind, there's no more Boise State. There's no more San Diego State,
That's
and there's
right.
no more
Huge
Fresno
shakeup in the
State.
Mountain West.
So, and something else to look at if you're wanting to kind of buy low or buy medium with the G6 team, what's their non-conference like? Well, Air Force doesn't play any Power 4 schools this year. Now, they do face both Army and Navy in the non-conference, and those games are typically decided in the fourth quarter. But even if they lose both of those matchups, I really like Air Force's chances this year of going over 6.5. Now, obviously, at a lot of places right now, you'd have to um, bet at 7.5. That's where they're currently priced. But I would lean over 7.5 as well for the Falcons.
Okay, I'll have to look into that because I haven't seen that.
Oh, real
What
quick,
else do you have? What else do you have for the futures market?
defensively, real quick for Air Force, they were really
Mhm.
porous last year. They return a lot of production. There's a lot of confidence about the linebacker room and then some of the pieces in the secondary. The defensive line, though, for Air Force is a big time question. It's their biggest question this year, no doubt. So we'll see how that D line shapes up. But I'm going to discuss this a little bit more in this video, John. I think what weighs heavier for G6 teams nowadays is how many quality players they have or how much retention do they have with their top end talent more so than what position groups are of question. I think that talent, the top end talent matters more than the unknown factor in the G6 nowadays.
Yeah, it does. With the players, the transfers,
Right.
they're basically the minor leagues now, which I'm not totally against because if you're the best, let's just say you're the best quarterback in the Mountain West, and you want to go to USC, you can go to USC, make some money instead of staying at wherever. I'm kind of for that, but that's another conversation for another day. What else you have for us?
I loved FAU over 5.5 wins back in early May.
Florida Atlantic, huh?
Yeah, Florida Atlantic over 5.5 wins. Now that's now at 6.5, juiced under. So you are getting about a plus 110, plus 112 value, depending
Wait,
on
what did you get it at?
5.5 minus 130 to the over,
And it's at what now?
6.5.
Six
Uh,
and a half. Okay. And they have what's the coach's name? Is it Kittrell
um,
from Texas Tech and then Western Kentucky?
is it
He's the head
Kitley?
coach now, right?
Yeah,
Kinley
hang on, FAU.
is like JT Kinley or something like that.
Zach Kitley.
Zach Kitley. All right, I was kind of close, but yeah, he was at Texas Tech, OC at Tech, and then he was at Western Kentucky,
Yep,
and this is his second year at Florida Atlantic, correct?
that's correct.
And so he's got his team set in, and you're looking for a big season.
I
What are you
sure
looking for
am.
out of the Owls this year?
Well, in fact, they may not be the only Owls that could overachieve in the American this year because I wouldn't be shocked if Casey Keeler gets Temple rolling at some point. But because I know you and I talked about that last year, John. Casey Keeler
For
is a
better and
very
worse, yeah, we did. Every week, either no, we were actually no, we weren't fading him. We were big
right.
believers in him all year.
That's
We thought
right.
we thought they were gonna beat Oklahoma.
We thought they
But
could cover that number above that above some key numbers there. We thought there was a chance.
yeah.
Um,
But
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 to
yeah, no, I agree. And even dare I say the Rice Owls, are they still on the come up or no?
I mean, I think
It's
there's
it's
only
it's
one.
har it's hard to get any worse though,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So,
what I was, that's what I was gonna get at. Yeah, it's
yeah.
they really only can go one way here. Rice is going to be an underdog in probably 10 or 11 games. They're going to be a decisive underdog in probably about 2/3 of those games. So,
Yeah.
like, if Rice makes a bowl game, then Abel, their head coach, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but if Rice gets to a bowl game, that coaching staff deserves a lot of rewards.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
I agree with that. I agree. But tell me more about FAU. Let's go back to FAU. Let's go back to FAU because I'm not surprised because I am a fan of the coach, but I really don't know that much like about the players and the team and how they're constructed other than, this he's based not an air raid, but that's kind of the type of offense he likes to play with. So, what are the Owls cooking with this season?
Well, first and foremost, it should be noted Florida Atlantic ranks number one among all G6 teams in returning production. And
It's huge.
as I
That's
was
huge.
hinting at,
That's does that make? I thought UTSA was number one. Does that make UTSA number two?
UTSA, they're top 10 in returning production for G6, but FAU's one. Trying to remember who's second. I know
Okay,
some of
maybe
the top teams like New Mexico's up there, Delaware's up there, Tulsa is up there.
Delaware.
UTSA is
Okay,
up there, but they're not quite at the level of those
okay.
aforementioned teams. But FAU ranks number one in the country among all G6 teams in returning production. As I was hinting at a few minutes ago, that matters nowadays because all these G6 teams are losing a lot of production. They're all having to replace their top guys.
Yep.
FAU is not in that boat this year. But guess who is in that boat? Specifically, a lot of their own conference. Think about all the production and the coaching staffs that leave the American Conference from all their success last year. I mean, there are so many teams and programs that are kind of starting from scratch this year with either a lot of new players or a lot of new coaching staffs in that league.
North Texas,
North Texas,
Memphis,
South Florida.
South Florida,
Now, another school that's losing a lot of production but has the same coaching staff, East Carolina.
East Carolina.
They lose a lot though. Um, Tulane,
Tulane got a new. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because you went to Florida.
and they got Will Hall, a downgrade there in the coaching department.
Who's that?
Former Southern Miss head coach.
Oh hell.
Charles
I know one Southern Miss coach that is going to elevate his team, and that's Mr.
Huff.
Huff.
Yeah,
He's a winner. He hasn't lost much in the last 2 years.
three
He's
years.
lost what 1, 2 games, something like that.
Yeah, I mean he's been awesome for a while as a head
We'll
coach
we'll
and
we'll get into
developing.
that game a little bit later. I got something cooked up for that one, so we'll get
Oh,
into that later.
okay.
But so you're big on the Florida Atlantic Owls. They're bringing back a ton of talent. They've got a good head coach, in my opinion. How's their schedule look? Because I know, we just talked about it. South Florida lost, a top quarterback and coach. North Texas lost quarterback, coach. Tulane, and then we'll have to wait and see what UTSA has. Obviously, it's make or break for Trailer this year. And how's their schedule look?
So Florida Atlantic will play Florida in Gainesville in the non-conference. They will take a loss there. I wouldn't be shocked if FAU covers a roughly 4 touchdown spread there. Yes, it is that much. So if you like FAU and you don't trust Florida right now, you could take FAU. Last time I looked, it was about 26 and a half. I haven't checked in a couple of days.
Yeah, I
Um,
haven't seen it.
it's yeah. So, but Florida Atlantic will lose that game, but the rest of their schedule's pretty manageable. And with all the production that leaves the American, it's almost like it's hard to say which games within American play are more winnable than another because you don't really know what to expect out of half of these teams.
Yeah.
But the one thing you can look at is and try to determine a team's floor and ceiling within their respective league play, especially in terms of their conference schedule difficulty, is the home and road splits. Who do you play at home? Who do you play on the road? And FAU, not that we really know a ton what to expect out of a lot of these American teams this year, American conference teams, that is.
Yeah.
But at least looking at it from last year's perspective, FAU gets the more challenging games at home. And then their easier opponents
Which is
they host UTSA, they host Navy, and they host South Florida. I know that off the top of my head.
okay. So then, yeah, that is half of the tough schools in the conference. So that's a good thing. I don't think they have much of a home field advantage, but of course, if they're day games, humidity, heat, those all play a factor as well. Especially UTSA is a dome team, so that
And
that does matter.
and when you look at probably the last 5 years or so, probably 7 or 8 years, um, American Conference teams that avoid playing Memphis and
Hmm.
Tulane typically do very well. And FAU avoids both the Tigers and the Green Wave this year.
It's
And
big.
briefly discussing that specifically that South Florida matchup for Florida Atlantic, that's a big time rivalry there for FAU. I don't know if USF looks at it the same way that the Owls do, but
Yeah.
it's a rivalry there. It's an underrated rivalry if you ask me. And Florida Atlantic hosts South Florida right in between games for USF of playing Tulane and Memphis. So it's kind of a trap game for USF,
Yeah.
and it's going to be arguably FAU's biggest home game of the season, depending on how their season goes, obviously. But I've talked a lot about the schedule, the returning production, but in regards to the specific standout players here for FAU, they return one of the better quarterbacks in the American Conference in Caden Veltkamp,
Yeah.
and then they have arguably the top receiver in the conference returning in Easton Messer. So FAU last year, they were really good offensively. They struggled defensively. Most importantly for this FAU team, my biggest reason for optimism, they did a really good job in the portal of getting defensive linemen because that was their weakness last year. I even talked about it on my G5 superlative post last year. And then I discussed FAU in a positive light this year. So last year, I talked about FAU's defense not being up to par. I just didn't think it was going to be that good. And that turned out to be true. This year, I shed some positive light on FAU, saying I do think this defense will be much improved because of who they got in the portal, specifically again up front. I think FAU's defensive line can be one of the more improved position groups in the American Conference. So I love FAU over 5.5. That was at minus 130 back in early May. It's now at 6.5. And I would still lean over at a plus value there.
I like it. What else do you have for us?
So there are three G6 teams in particular that retain a lot of production coming off of good seasons. It's one thing
Hmm.
if you were like 4-8 and you return a lot of production and you have upward mobility in that case, like an Air Force, like an FAU. But it's another thing when you were competing for conference championships last year, or you happen to win a conference championship and you return a lot of your best players, because that's almost unheard of nowadays. But
Hmm.
there are three G6 teams that finished all with winning records, two of them more so than another, but all three of these teams returned their top talent. So let's discuss these in order. We'll start with the
I'm
team
ready.
that say what?
So I'm ready.
Let's go. Starting with the team that happened to win their conference title and is looking to go back to back. And if they do so, it'll be the first time in 15 years, 14 years, technically, for this conference. Western Michigan out of the MAC. So Western
Western
Michigan
Michigan.
was on a roll last year to end the season, and they return a lot of those reasons for that second half of the season surge in 2025, starting with, I think, what might be the best offensive backfield in the G6, or at least one of the two best, along with Air Force with Owen Allen and Liam Zarka. But Western Michigan, they've got two studs coming back in their quarterback and their running back. Jalen Buckley is the name of the running back. Now, if you want to talk about potential G6 All Americans, that's
Hmm.
a guy to look at. Buckley is an absolute dude for Western Michigan. If you don't know about Jalen Buckley, it's probably because he struggles to stay healthy. But last year was arguably his best season so far in his collegiate career, at least one of his best. If he stays healthy, you're looking at one of the best running backs in the entire G6 for this year. And then
And then wait,
offense,
for are you you have a you have a win total for Western Michigan?
I sure do.
And what
I
is it? Or
over seven and
what
a half.
was it and what is it now?
John, when I've done these futures for you, I have never experienced, like in the summer, a win
Mhm.
total going against me. Like the movement has never
Uh-huh.
gone against me. This is the first time it's gone against me. So the market disagrees here. But I like Western Michigan over 7.5. It was at a plus 108 or plus 110 value back in early May. It's now
Mhm.
at plus 126 at FanDuel. Um,
So it didn't move off, it didn't go down to 6.5, it's still at 7.5, just different
Correct.
juice?
You just had some people specifically um, in Action Network that
Oh,
has to
well
do
then
with.
there you go. That means you're on the right track, man. You're on the right track. That's all you had to say.
I don't want to point him out like that. I have a lot of respect for a lot of those guys, but I do disagree with their viewpoints on Western Michigan this year because some of the
I'll
point.
tell you. I'll tell you one thing. I do like the quarterback, Kim. I think that's his last name, right? Kim.
Uh, no, let's see here.
He's not starting.
For
Oh wait, did you say Western or Eastern?
Western Michigan, you're thinking of
Oh,
Noah
I'm
Kim for
okay. Never mind.
Eastern
I'm thinking of
Michigan.
what I'm thinking of Eastern Michigan because their game later. So never mind. Just ignore that. My bad.
No, all good. No, Western Michigan's quarterback is Brock Lowry. Now, Lowry, he wasn't the starter from start to finish last year
Yeah.
for the Broncos. He became more of the established starter by about week 4 when Western Michigan somehow beat Toledo. I don't really want to talk about how that Rocket future went last year. We won't talk about that. Um, uh, well, I guess I'll reference one thing about that later on in the show. Hint, hint. It's about their previous coach. But Brock Lowry, once he became the established starter for Western Michigan last year, he really developed into a quality quarterback, and he actually ended up winning Offensive Player of the Year in the MAC. So, and that was as a youngster, as a redshirt freshman last year. Oh, excuse me. I think he was labeled as a sophomore, but it was his first year as an established starter for the Broncos, and
Hmm.
now he's the dude. Like he's going to be the guy leading what should be the best offense in the MAC, one of the better offenses in the G6, especially if that passing attack can take that next step. And I think it will. Watch out for wide receiver Avion Chenault. I think he's going to be a prime time or prime breakthrough candidate in the MAC this year. I expect him to be one of the best receivers in that conference. The offensive line, most importantly, can you win up front? The answer is hell yes. If you're a Bronco fan, if you're a Western Michigan Bronco fan, so Western Michigan, I think John has one of the 5 best offensive lines in the entire G6 this year. They return 4 starters, and 3 of them, at least according to Phil Steele, were selected as first team All MAC. So yeah, 3 of them were listed on Phil Steele's All MAC, first team All MAC selections. Very noteworthy. So you're talking about a G6 team that ended up winning, see, 10 games last year after winning the MAC championship over Miami of Ohio and then blasting Kennesaw State in the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Hmm.
And I mean, they absolutely obliterated another double digit win team from Conference USA in Kennesaw State. So
Yeah.
this is a legit team. The reason why there has been some sell with Western Michigan this summer, and again, it's come really just mainly from a couple of outlets. Hey, I know some of the guys at Action Network, and at some point they're probably going to see this video. I respect
I know
y'all.
none. I know none of them. So whatever I say has nothing to do with your position. So just
I respect.
FYI.
I respect a lot of their analysis. They do a really good job with their G6 deep dives and their podcasts. They do a really good job. But one of the things that they've pointed out this year is all the production that leaves Western Michigan and their defensive front 6, specifically from their defensive line. And they were very good up front last year defensively. And so one of the big reasons why Western Michigan ranks in the top 20 defensively in a lot of statistics nationally. So there are some questions with Western Michigan's defensive line. But John, if you remember me saying about 10, 15 minutes ago here, I said I was going to reference later on that I think it matters more who a G6 team keeps rather than who they lose. Did you keep your top end talent? And Western Michigan kept the majority of their best players. In fact, here's a fun stat for you, John. Western Michigan is the only G6 team in the entire country that did not lose a starter to the portal.
That
So
is a
all
little
of their
nugget.
starters that they have to replace either graduated or went on to the NFL draft.
So
And when
just normal organic turnover for them.
That's right.
It's rare. That's rare.
And they returned the majority of their studs. Like, if you were to point out at the conclusion of the 2025 season, hey, who were Western Michigan's top 5 or top 10 players? Well, they returned the majority of those players. They returned the majority of their studs. And they did, I think, a pretty good job in the portal at attacking the defensive line. That is their biggest question, and it's probably not going to be as good as it was last year. But you don't have to be fabulous at any position to win the MAC.
That's
So
true. I
I
agree.
love Western Michigan over 7.5 wins. The trickier aspect here with the overall win total is the non-conference schedule.
Mhm.
And Western Michigan has a pretty difficult non-conference slate. They'll start by playing in Ann Arbor against the Wolverines next week. They're about a 4-touchdown underdog there. A little bit of a look ahead. I like Western Michigan plus the points there with just the style of those two teams. Schematically, I like it. And then when you look at the rosters, I like it. Um, Outside of Michigan, they're going to lose that game. They might cover, but they're still
Mhm.
losing that game. Another big time non conference matchup for Western Michigan. And this matchup is not getting talked about enough, if you ask me. They host Boise State in week 4. Broncos against the Broncos. And if Boise State goes on to win the Pac 12, and let's say they finish um 11-2, and their losses are to Oregon in the non conference, discussing Boise
Mhm.
State here, and then Western Michigan. And if Western Michigan, let's say they lose to Michigan in week 1, and then they trip up once in Maction, because typically most teams do
Mhm.
trip up in Maction. Things can get a little
Yeah.
crazy in Maction. And then they go on, though, to win the rest of their games, including a sneaky trip to Rice, who we were referencing earlier. Rice only has one way to go, and that's up. But that's not a team that should be beating Western Michigan right now in the Rice Owls. But if Western Michigan goes 11-2, let's say they trip up once in Maction, maybe they lose at Toledo. They do have to play the Rockets on the road, and then they lose at Michigan in week 1, and they have that head-to-head against Boise. Who's to say Western Michigan doesn't sneak into the playoff? Because you can't
Oh,
ignore a
wow. Wait a
head-to-head
second.
victory.
Hey, you never know. I mean, I mean, it's just gonna depend on, if somebody has an undefeated season, right? Like usually that's been the outlier, except for last year when we had what three top, right? James Madison. Who else was the other two teams vying for that last spot? James Madison got it.
Well, there's Tulane, North Texas,
That's right.
and
And Tulane
then
got in.
Tulane got in.
I don't know how, but doesn't
Well,
matter.
you can thank Duke for beating Virginia.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, Tulane would have gotten in. JMU was really the team that snuck in,
Yeah,
because the
yeah,
American Conference title winner was going to be in. Like
correct.
that was like everyone knew that probably by like week 4, week 5 last year, because of how well the American Conference did in the non-conference last year. So
Yeah.
to finish up on Western Michigan, I love them over 7.5 wins, and you're getting a really good plus money value there. And something that I just did shortly before jumping on here, I took Western Michigan at plus 8,000 to make the college football playoff. I put $10 on that.
Okay, 8,000. Wow.
You're getting 80 to
That's
1 odds there.
no, you're getting 800.
800 to 1 odds, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, it's a little lotto. You never know. If James Madison can make it and Western Michigan wins out, beats Boise, who's to say they can't sneak in? So I don't mind that. I don't mind that play at all. I don't mind that at all.
And to find
So
out,
what's the next one? What's the next future you have?
last G6 team here, at least in terms of being bullish on. So, John, 2 years ago was my first year with Desert Dweller, right? Or was it 20? No, it was 2023. That was my first year, right?
What year
Yeah,
is it? 26, 25,
it
24,
was 23 because I hyped up Missouri that year.
23. Yeah, 23 is right.
So, in 2024, do you remember the G6 team that I was hyping up?
Texas State, you're obsessed, and they were terrible. or was that when they had a good year?
They had an okay year, but they disappointed
Okay, okay.
because they had very high expectations and they didn't quite reach those.
And
Because
what's the Texas I know you have more than this, but what's the Texas State win total you have?
so this is something that I would bet right now. In fact, I just bet it a couple days ago. I love Texas State over 6.5 wins, 100%. Like
And
that's
so
my
it's currently at 6.5 as well?
currently it's at 6.5 right now as we speak. Minus 104 to the over, minus 118 to the under. I disagree. I think that should be shaded to the over. I love this team. So, and now this is a roster that I've memorized probably better than any other G6 roster, at least in terms of the top players.
Okay.
Um, so Brad Jackson is the name to know overall here. He is, I think, the best quarterback in all the G6 this year.
That's what I keep hearing, that he's number 1.
Action Brad Jackson, baby.
Getting
So
a lot of hype so far in the offseason. And so it'll be interesting because don't they start off with uh some combination of UT and UTSA? Is that right?
that's correct.
Yeah, so
They'll lose.
that's a hell of a way to start the season. But go ahead. Let's hear more about it. Let's hear more about Texas State and your Bobbies.
So I'm Bob. Hang on. How should I put this? I'm bullish on the Bobcats once again.
You're eaten up by the cats.
Yeah, that's right. So Texas State is the only team in the entire country, Power Four or G6 or independent, that returns two 1,000-yard receivers. And that's unheard of, first of all, right? For a G6 team to have that. And if they somehow ended up having that for a year, what is the chance that that G6 team is able to retain both those guys? Pretty low in
Yeah.
this era. And the Bobcats somehow kept both of their 1,000-yard receivers. Texas State, I think, is going to have the best offense in the G6 this year, hands down. The offensive line, they do lose a couple of guys to the portal, but Texas State has done a tremendous job developing offensive linemen during the GJ Kinney era. And guess who? At least according to the Sickos Committee, I believe is what they're called. They just put out a few days ago the biggest offensive lines in the country,
Mhm.
like weight wise.
Yeah.
Guess who's number one? It's in the state of
Texas State.
Texas. It's not the Aggies and it's not the Longhorns. It's not
Texas
Texas
State
Tech.
does?
It's Texas State.
Wow. I
It's a
didn't know that.
deep
I didn't know that.
it's a deep room. And like I know they lose a couple of their better offensive linemen to the portal, but I think this offensive line, despite that, is not going to take any bit of a step back. So this goes back to what I was referencing way early on in the video. G6 teams nowadays, it matters more who they have, who they keep, what's the retention, did they keep their studs, how are they developing their talent, more so than, yeah, but they lost this guy and that guy. Well, I got news for you. That offsets. Every G6 team is losing a lot of players. So how about those few G6 teams that happen to retain either a lot amount of production like FAU or your top end talent like Texas State, Western Michigan, and then one other G6 team that I'm going to be discussing here in a few moments. Um, but yeah, the Bobcats, John, I think are going to have the best offense in the G6. I don't think the running back room has like a standout individual there. There may end up being a standout individual by the
Mhm.
end of the year because there is no shortage of talent in that room. But as of now, I don't think Texas State has a bell cow running back, but they are very deep at running back.
But they've also had random running backs come out of the woodwork
Yeah,
and carry them the past couple years, so I kind of agree that I don't even think it matters 'cause at least going based off of the last, since 2000, 23, they've had a random running back be a great contributor to the offense. So I mean, if I wouldn't worry about that too much, as long as they have the quarterback, typically Kenny can figure out the rest. So question marks at running back or it not being well known, that's not too surprising, and I don't think it'll matter too much.
right. Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter at all. And to reference those 1,000-yard receivers that return for the Bobcats, Chris Don Jr. and Bo Sparks. If you were to rank the top 5 G6 receivers in the country this year, those two are both in the top 5 and they play for the same team. That's unheard of to, again, have that top level uh, talent and to retain that top level talent for a G6 team nowadays. So that is 100% something that I've considered when in terms of me buying the Bobcats this year. And one last thing here regarding Texas State, John. The winner of the Pac 12, whichever team that ends up being, is going to get a lot of attention nationally for a couple reasons. One, it's the emergence of the new look Pac 12. And then, second, it's also going to be graded better than the majority of other G6 leagues. I think, the American Conference, although they lose a lot from
Mhm.
last year, the top half of the Mountain West, not the full Mountain West, it's just the top half, and then a good chunk of the Pac 12 is going to be respected nationally. Power ratings, everything, they're going to be respected. So, whichever team comes out of the Pac 12 is going to have a great chance to make the college football playoff. So, guess what I did once more, John?
I
I
want to hear it.
sprinkled I
What'd you
sprinkled a
do?
little bit here on Texas State to make the college football playoff. Now, this is something that the market did agree with me on. So, I bet them to make the playoff a couple weeks ago at let's see, it'd have been plus 3,500. Those odds are now plus 2,700.
Wait, you got it at what number?
3,500,
And it's what now?
2,700.
After 1 day?
No, after a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. So, two things. So, you think that they're going to qualify, which means they're going to have to beat UTSA
Yep.
and then pretty much run the gauntlet in the Pac-12 this year, right?
I'm glad that you bring this up. So before I finish out my G6 long shots, because I have one more team I'm going to discuss, I don't think the G6 is very likely to see a 13-0 or 12-1 team this year. Because when you look at all of the top G6 teams, whether you're bullish on Texas State and Western Michigan, or you're bullish on Navy, UTSA, Boise State, whatever group of
Mhm.
G6 teams that you're bullish on, pick any pool of G6 teams that you want, or or any ones, top pool of G6 teams. Those teams are going to most likely be 11-2, maybe even 10-3, more so than 12-1, 13-0. So I don't necessarily think the G6 representative only has to have one early season loss, whether you're Boise at Oregon or Texas State at Texas or Western Michigan at Michigan. Name the team. I don't care. Or if it's UTSA at Texas, they play in Austin as well this year. Whatever team you want to throw out or teams, they're
Mhm.
not likely to be 12-1 this year. It's just the way the schedules are working now. And also, teams are not as deep as they used to be. So, like, teams are like 2, 3 injuries away from going from a really good team to a good team. And good teams don't go 12-0. Good teams, depending on their strength of schedule, will go somewhere between like 8-4 to like 10-2.
Yeah.
And so I think we're probably going to be looking at a lot of G6 teams after conference championship weekend for their respective G6 representatives. You're probably looking at teams going into conference championship weekend like at 10-2, and then if they win their conference title, of course, 11-2. So I don't think, if Texas State's going to lose at Texas, they could slip up once, if not twice more. And whatever team comes out of the Pac 12, and the way I'm looking at this also is if you've got the best quarterback, the best receiving core, arguably the best offensive line, at the very least, one of the best offensive lines in the Pac 12, and a defense that I think will greatly improve from last year, given what they did in the portal, and then some of the players that they were able to retain on that side of the ball. Like, I think Texas State's alive to win the Pac 12 this year. Like, they're currently at 7-1 odds
Oh,
to win
that's
the
not bad.
Pac-12. It's not bad, and that's also something that I've bet this year, and that I would recommend to others because I think Texas State should be priced more so around like 4-1 or 5-1 to win the
Yeah.
Pac-12. But whatever team that comes out of the Pac-12 is going to have a great shot to make the playoff. And if I think Texas State has the best offense in the Pac-12, that means I certainly think they have a great shot to win the Pac-12. and therefore the Pac-12 winner has a great shot to make the playoff. And when you look at the G6 national landscape this year, you're probably looking at a lot of, again, 11-2 conference champions. So I like Texas State. I would still bet Texas State now to make the playoff at plus 2,700.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good number too. So you got it at 35 and it's at 27 now?
Correct.
Okay. That's what I thought. That's what I have down here. And what's your next what's the last and I think it is the final one that you have, the last future?
At least at the G6, yeah. Um, Now there's been some news in the last 24 hours for this team that wasn't positive, but I don't think it.
New Mexico?
Yep. So I bet New Mexico over 8.5 wins way back in early May at actually it was at plus 140, and it still is at DraftKings at over 8.5. I like that. Oh,
Oh,
hang
it
on. Let
didn't
me
move at all?
let me
The
see.
number?
I don't think it has. Let me check real quick. I believe it's still at that price.
Because that came out yesterday, the quarterback being injured, probably out for
Yeah,
the season.
correct. That's right. Let's see here. New Mexico. Yeah, still plus 140 at 8.5 at DraftKings.
So who's the backup quarterback if that line didn't
Now let's see.
even move? Because I didn't look into it that far because
You know what?
didn't really have him on my radar.
You know what? That's actually so that's now the alternate win total,
Eight
eight
and a
and a
half.
half. But what's interesting is that price hasn't changed.
And
So
what
I
is
mean, the market, DraftKings specifically, has been implying New Mexico as an 8-4 team this entire
mhm.
summer because none of these prices have changed. But I guess like at 7.5, they're juiced at minus 186 to the over. At 8.5, they're currently juiced at minus 180 to the under. So, I mean, you're going to be laying juice either way.
Wait,
Um,
what? Say that again. It's juiced at what to the over?
so at 7.5,
Uh-huh.
it's juiced over at minus 186.
And
At
at
eight,
under 7.5, it's also juiced out?
sorry, that I guess I didn't word that correctly. So at over 7.5, it's juiced at minus 186 to the over.
Uh-huh.
And then at 8.5, it's juiced to the under at minus 180.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's essentially implying they're an 8-win team this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I like New Mexico's chances, despite the quarterback news, to still go 9-3 at least. Great shot of 10-2. Here's another quality G6 team with a non-conference matchup that doesn't exactly favor them. So New Mexico travels to Oklahoma to face the Sooners, and what's actually a bit of a trap game for the
Mhm.
Sooners. Oklahoma is going to be coming off of a game against Michigan, and then it's
Uh-huh.
right before Oklahoma travels to Athens to play Georgia.
Mm. And that's what we thought last year with Temple. That
Well,
now I remember that we
uh,
thought the same thing with Temple, and then they got smoked.
that's
But,
true, but we are looking at a much better G16.
yeah,
I mean, legitimately, I think New Mexico has the best defense in the entire G6 this year.
really.
Yes, the best defense in the G6. Best defense, one of the better defensive lines, one of the better linebacker rooms, and one of the two best secondaries, along with Western Michigan secondary. So, um, I love New Mexico's chances to still overachieve this year. They also have a tremendous coaching staff. And here's another thing you have to consider because I'm sure that news about Jack Lane, New Mexico's starting quarterback, who was just
Mhm.
ruled out for the season last night. There's going to be a lot of people now selling New Mexico. So if you want to wait a little bit to see what that price could be in a week from now, I don't blame you. That's how I would play that if you're still wanting to buy the Lobos. But here's the thing: New Mexico is coming off of a 9-win season, and they return a lot of production, some of the most returning production of all G6 teams. But something that you have to consider when you're talking about a quarterback that you lose to injury, let's say, do
Mhm.
you win because of that quarterback or do you win with that quarterback? New Mexico won with.
The old Trent Dilfer question, right?
Yeah, really. Exactly. Exactly. And New Mexico, nothing against Jack Lane. But even if Jack Lane's fully healthy coming into this year, if you were to sell New Mexico with a healthy Jack Lane,
Mhm.
you're selling New Mexico because of Jack Lane. So why does all of a sudden losing Jack Lane just make people think, oh, New Mexico's done for? Really? Like quarterback was their weakness already. So
And he
they
came out
didn't
of nowhere last year. Wasn't he a backup last year?
they ran a two quarterback system last year.
Yeah.
And he was okay, but he was a little bit worse than a game manager. Now, in all
And
fairness to
they
Jack,
were most I'm sorry, but they were mostly like a running team, right? Because the
yeah,
head coach is like offensive line coach, right?
yep,
A running backs coach, so
yep,
it's mainly like a power running offense, not so much spread it out, throw it around offense. So
that's right.
if they have the best defense in the whatever G6, then they pride themselves not on their quarterback play, but controlling the time of possession, running the football, and then playing defense, right? Is that correct?
Correct. That's all
Okay.
correct. And now, in all fairness to Jack Lane, he did suffer an injury last year that I think most did not realize he was playing through until the season had concluded or they were going into their bowl game. Point being, like maybe Lane was never fully healthy. And looking at him now, I don't think
Mhm.
he's been fully healthy for a while. He got a second opinion from a doctor, and he's now having to have another surgery on his elbow. That's what the injury was throughout last year. So like he's he is one of those kind of leaders that you'd want on your team. Like he's gonna fight through a lot of pain. He's a great team leader, but it's not like he's a great quarterback even if he's fully healthy. It's not like, Texas State with Brad Jackson or
Yeah.
Western Michigan with Brock Lowry. Like those teams are winning because of their quarterbacks. They're not
Yeah.
winning with their quarterbacks. New Mexico, again, no offense to Jack Lane, but they were winning with Lane last year.
Yeah.
The team and the mold, the DNA of New Mexico has not changed. The unknown, I guess, now is what's the floor and the ceiling, because at least you knew what to expect out of Lane, and
Mhm.
that if Lane had been healthy this year, you'd think the floor can't get any lower, and that there's some degree of upward mobility here. At least they know what to expect from the quarterback, and they have a returning upperclassman at a vital position. Now there's a little bit more variance. Now, I think a guy to watch out for at this point for the Lobos is Luke Moga. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's a transfer from Oregon. He played sparingly for the Ducks last year,
Mhm.
but he has a higher ceiling
At
than Jack
quarterback.
Lane. Yes,
Okay.
he has a higher ceiling than Lane would have had. Now
And
there's
he's
also
next in line to start? Is that
it's a quarterback battle, but he's the guy that I'd watch out for.
okay.
It's still a battle though. Like
So bottom line is New Mexico lost their quarterback, doesn't really affect the team. I mean,
I
I
don't
would
think it
say.
affects the ceiling for New Mexico. Now there's a slight chance of a lower floor because you don't have a veteran behind center, but the DNA of New Mexico has not changed. This is still going to be a run first team that prides itself at the line of scrimmage, and they're still going to be able to do that. They
Mhm.
still have one of the better running back rooms in the Mountain West, like I talked about at the very beginning of the video. The wide receivers, it's not a deep room for New Mexico, so they do need to stay healthy there. But I do
Yeah.
like the top guys in that room. New Mexico, though, bottom line, run the ball, play great defense, and let's see how many close games they can win with their awesome coaching staff. Something else to point out real quick here before we change subjects. New Mexico, they host North Dakota State, they host Air Force, and they host UNLV. The only top half opponent that they have to play on the road this year in the Mountain West is Hawaii, and it's actually a favorable spot schedule wise
Mhm.
for the Lobos. New Mexico will be coming off of a bye. Meanwhile, Hawaii will be coming off of a road game against Arizona State.
Oh. Where's that game at? The Arizona State game, a road game?
Yeah, it'll be a road game for Hawaii. They play at Arizona State.
Okay. All right, so that's it for the G6. Did you have any other futures that you still have?
this team is not. They're independent. So now you know where I'm going here. Um,
I don't know.
I'll
Actually, no, I don't. I kind of want to hear this.
oh, so UConn. Um,
Oh,
I'm
again.
selling UConn this year. Now the thing is, I got them at under 6.5 at -150. You're now having to lay like -230, I believe.
For 6.5, it hasn't moved.
Oh no, it's moved. It's at minus like 230 now.
No, no, I mean, like, it's not five and a
Oh,
half.
it's also moved a full win. I'm just saying, like, if you were
Oh,
to
okay.
bet under minus
I
six and a
see what you're
half, you'd be
saying.
having to lay minus 230. Yes, but it's now at 5.5 at other books. Like DraftKings, they still do their alternate stuff.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so the regular win total was priced originally at 6.5, and now it's at 5.5.
Mhm.
And it's now juiced to the under at 5.5. And that's something that I would bet right now if I didn't have a under six
And
and a
what's
half
the
minus
juice
one.
at 5.5? Do you remember?
Minus 130 something.
Oh, it's not too bad.
It's not bad.
I don't know how their schedule looks, so how many wins do you think
Oh,
that they're gonna have this year? 0?
well, they'll have at least one. At least they should. They play Lafayette
Mhm.
in week one. They also host UMass.
Indiana or, Louisiana?
Oh, excuse me. No, it's Lafayette, the FCS team from Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, there's so many Lafayettes. Is that in Indiana?
I believe so. I think you're right.
Okay.
I'll look into that, but I know like Louisiana Lafayette, that town of Lafayette only has one university,
Mhm.
at least in the FBS. But yeah, it's not Lafayette. I believe you are correct. Is in Indiana, but I can pull that up real quick.
Okay. I was just curious because I didn't know if it was gonna be Louisiana or a FCS school. 'Cause I'm trying to think, they're like the Lafayette Panthers or something, like in Indiana.
Oh, I
I
think it's let's
I
see,
could be
Pennsylvania.
wrong. Pennsylvania. See, there's Lafayettes everywhere. So,
It's apparently one
um,
of the oldest college football programs in the United States.
well, there you go. Learn
Their
something new
first
every day.
first season was in 1882.
Dang.
I was just a
Uh,
couple years
oh.
old.
All right, so we got UConn under 6.5. You think they'll go under 5.5?
Yep. I don't think
Okay.
they're making a bowl game this year. So I
Okay.
was going to quickly reference earlier when I was saying, well, I don't really want to talk about my Rocket future last year, my Toledo future.
Yeah.
But there was but I do want to discuss a previous coach of theirs. So, of course, now I'm going blank on his name. Jason Candle. Jason Candle, the previous Toledo coach and now current UConn coach. He at Toledo, he was someone who got the least out of the most.
Mhm.
Like
The
Toledo,
least out of the most, as in he did not do well with his talent?
that's right.
Okay, I wanna make sure because Toledo had some decent teams, but, I would agree that they always taper it off at the end of the season with, having high expectations heading into the season, like last year.
Oh, and last year, like that Toledo team should have won the MAC, like without
Yep,
question. Like if you look at their wins were not even close. Like they were blowouts. It was like watching a 4A team play a 3A team in high school
yeah,
in their wins. And then their losses were like head scratchers. They lost in competitive fashion to Kentucky. That was fine. But their other losses, like they lost against Washington State. Like Washington State beat them. That was a decisive win for Wazoo. So that was the one game where it's like, okay, Toledo should have uh, the right team won that game.
mhm,
But Toledo's losses last year in MAC play, their two losses, inexcusable. Absolutely pathetic. They lost
yeah,
to Western Michigan in a game that they had complete control in. And then they had a 21-point lead against a rebuilding Bowling Green team. I know that's a rivalry. There's always a factor of, well, it's a rivalry, anything can happen. Okay, but when you're up by 3 touchdowns in any football game, I don't care who you're playing, you should put that game away.
yep, that's true.
So, and Texas State lost to a rebuilding Bowling Green. Not just losing when you have a 3-score lead, 3
Mhm.
touchdown lead that is. You lost to 2025 Bowling Green. Are you kidding me? Bowling Green didn't even have like a real quarterback in that game. I think they were running like a bunch of wildcat stuff if I remember
I wouldn't
correctly.
doubt it.
Jason Candle, point being here, is he underachieves. And now he has a roster that's actually more in question. He actually had good talent to work with at Toledo, and
That's
quite
true.
often really good talent in comparison to the rest of that league. And now he has a questionable roster, one that's in a true rebuild. We're talking about UConn in a rebuild here as well. And UConn's schedule, you're referring to earlier, John, or you were asking me their schedule. It's tough. They face, and remember, UConn's not in the conference, so they're
Yeah.
going to face a more difficult of a schedule than a lot of G6 teams will. UConn's technically like G6, the way that they're valued, at least
Mhm.
from a rankings perspective and a polls perspective, but they're not in
Yeah.
a G6 league, obviously being an independent. But they face North Carolina, Syracuse, Maryland, and they host all three of those. Now, I'm sure most people are going to say, wait, UConn host all three of those, and those three power conference teams are not all that good. That means UConn's live in those games. Not this year's UConn. Last year's UConn, heck yeah. That would be a buy. Like, watch out for UConn. Now it's like, ooh, that floor is lower because those are not the kind of games that 2026 UConn should be playing at home, or that it's not who they would want to play at home. Like, those are
Mhm.
games that they're probably going to lose anyways. You want those games on the road. And instead, UConn gets their closer to toss-up games on the road. They have to play Air Force, Wyoming, all on the road this year. There's a couple of other games. They have to play Temple on the road. So the schedule just doesn't do them any favors. And again, this is a true rebuilding year for UConn. If UConn makes a bowl game, I tip my hat. And guess what? If they go 6-6, I'll still cash my future because that was at 6.5. It's now at 5.5, and it's
Yeah.
now getting juiced to the under at 5.5. So
Did did Jim Mora Jr. retire?
he's now at Colorado State.
Oh, okay. I could not remember. I was thinking, I was like, he had a couple good years. I don't think he would retire, especially because I think he liked, obviously liked being at UConn and they gave him a second chance, but got the Colorado State job. Okay. I just wasn't 100% sure there. Any other futures that we need to discuss or that you have? I'm not too sure if you have any more.
So I
Any
have
I guess in the power conferences rather.
mm, I do have some parlays here that I'll get to here in a few minutes, but I do want to quickly reference, at least finishing off with the G6 here.
Hmm.
If you notice, I'm not really selling any true G6. Like, the only sell I have here is UConn, and they're not in a G6 league. They play a few power conference teams this year. It's
Yeah.
because of what I was saying earlier. Like, the teams that you're going to want to sell in the G6, it's because of what they lose, right? Or maybe a
Yeah.
coaching staff, and/or coaching staff, maybe strength of schedule. All three of those factors are going to play a part into that. But the reason why I don't have any best bets for y'all in terms of selling a true G6 team is because they're like again, the reasons that you'd want to sell a G6 team, almost all G6 teams are going through those same things. Like, they're all having to rebuild. They're all losing a lot of production. So you could all look at them in the same way and say, "Well, man, I don't know about this team this year. They lose so much from last year." Well, so does their opposition. "I don't know, man. I don't trust this offensive line. They lose 4 or 5 starters." Well, the defensive line that they're going up against loses all their guys from last year.
Hmm.
So it's like, who knows in terms of like selling these G6 teams. Um, Now, like, if you're bet happy, if you've got like someone that is like, trigger happy, like when they want to shoot guns. Well, if
Yeah.
you're trigger happy in terms of like shooting futures, right? Like, you want to fire away on
There you
stuff.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to do that, like, if you just can't stop from betting,
Uh-huh.
the areas that I would look at is the teams that are changing conferences or going up from the FCS to the FBS, because you could
Mhm.
have some missed prices there, just completely missed prices. So North Dakota State and Sacramento State moving up from the FCS this year. Those are two teams that I've considered selling. Sacramento State opened at 5.5. They're now at 4.5. I did not bet that. North Dakota State, they opened up at 9.5. They're now more so at 8.5, or they are heavily juiced under at 9.5.
And
That is
North Dakota
something.
State, they're in the Mountain West, and Sacramento State's in the MAC. Is that correct?
That's correct. Both of those are
Okay.
correct.
Interest. It's a new world.
I exactly.
Well, North Dakota State makes sense. Sacramento State doesn't make sense. It would make more sense if they were in the Mountain West, which
Yep.
I thought they were in the Mountain West until yesterday when I was reading about them. I saw they were in the MAC. I was like, this makes 0 sense, but nothing makes sense anymore. So, it's whatever.
Yeah. Nothing has made sense since about 6 years ago, six and a
Yeah.
half years ago. Um, but I'm not that interested in selling G6 teams, and at least unless it's like an obvious sell. Like last year, Sam Houston, that was an obvious sell.
Yeah.
But like unless you have a situation where you have a late hiring of a coach, you lose a lot of production, and your schedule goes from you have a significant increase in the difficulty of the schedule to where that team might be mispriced because of that to go along with having to replace a lot of production and you have a new coaching staff, much less a late hiring that Sam Houston was going through last year.
Mhm.
And remember, Sam Houston didn't have any true home games last year either. That was something else to consider.
Yeah.
So I love that play last year. I didn't make that publicly available, but that was something that I had in pocket last year. But
And some of this, I'm assuming, and because we've kind of talked about it last year and a little bit this summer, was you kind of had to find out the hard way last year with some of your futures on the to the under on
yeah,
some of these G6, G5 schools, right? So
yep,
you had what was it under on Louisiana Tech and a couple others that they actually had pretty solid seasons. I can't remember the exact schools, but we did have that conversation to where,
yep.
it was like, well, all these teams are base unless they have a star outlier quarterback or position group, they're basically almost all rated pretty equally. So it's
hmm
kind of hard to judge the unders on some of these teams, right?
That's exactly right. Now I did have an over on Louisiana Tech. I was bullish on the Bulldogs
Over.
last
Okay.
year.
Okay.
Yeah,
What were the ones that you had unders on then?
Marshall, which I cashed, but I was
Okay.
very fortunate. I mean, very fortunate. Like Marshall should have legitimately been like a 7 or 8 win team last
Because
year, and
isn't
they went
that
five
who
and seven.
UConn played when they had a 99-yard touchdown and they
Temple.
lost that game?
No, UConn beat Temple. Are you thinking about that game 2 years ago
Was it 2 years ago? Okay, I thought it was the last year. Okay,
when
then never
when
mind.
UConn returned that fumble for a touchdown? Is that what you're
Yeah, it
thinking?
was it was something like that, and that's when
Yep.
you had a UConn over?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I that was one of the most exciting moments of the 2024 season for me. I was screaming up and down. I was jumping
Yeah.
up and down and screaming at the top of my lungs when UConn returned that all the way back. That was awesome. Goal line stand to go on top. They actually had I think they had already stopped the Temple player, like his momentum had been stopped, but then the ball
Mhm.
came loose and they returned it the other way. So yeah, that was awesome. But that was when I was bullish on UConn.
Yeah.
UConn do
Not
it. Now
anymore.
I'm now it's you can't do it. Um, but yeah, I'm just not. Oh yeah, so to answer your question there, John, I had an under on Marshall, I had an under on Arkansas State, and oh my
Arkansas
gosh,
State. Yeah.
Arkansas State should have gone like 3-9, 4-8 last
They
year, but
overachieved last year.
they keep winning all their close games. But that's the thing, like a lot of these games in the G6, they're kind of
They're
crapshoots now.
crapshoots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. So it's kind of hard to bet, like unless you're like really bullish on a team, and to take an over, like when you're buying them, like buying low or buying medium.
Mhm.
I can see that.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to sell because they're all in the same position. So that's kind of where I was going at earlier. I didn't mean to
With
like, out action network specifically, but it's like the general consensus, all of these bettors that take these unders in the G6, it's like, I'm selling this team because they lose this player and that player.
yeah.
So does their opposition. Like, how can you know like how these guys are gonna mesh? Like the things that I look at are like, what's like who's a coaching staff? How have they proven themselves in terms of developing? Because that's really
Mhm.
what it comes down to. Either developing recruits or developing portal guys. Like, how
Yeah.
is your development? What's your program like? And then, like, if I'm gonna sell a G6 team, it's not just because of that roster. I'm selling the current state of that program for that year. That's what
Yeah.
I'm
No.
looking at.
Yeah, no, 100%, and I'll just circle back on it and tell you, and we'll talk about it right now. Air Force, you like what? They have returning production. They have a quarterback. Those are all things you want. You have over for them. Florida Atlantic, good coaching staff. They return a bunch of talent. They have an offense. There you go. Western Michigan, same thing, returning talent. Texas State, they got a quarterback, they have a coach, they have a program, returning talent over. New Mexico, quarterback goes down, doesn't matter. They have a running game, they have a good coach, they have a defense over. UConn has none of those things under. So those are all correlating to what you're pointing at.
Exactly. And like the only under I've taken in the G6 this year is UConn. And they're not even like in a G6 league. If they were
Yeah.
playing a G6 strength of schedule, as long as they don't face Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia in the non-conference or something
Hmm.
like that, then I'm not going to be looking at the under because yeah, they may not be that good of a team, but a lot of their opposition has the same questions they do. But that's
Hmm.
the thing. UConn doesn't play in a G6 league. They're an independent, and their schedule just happened to line up in a very tricky way in a season that happened to be a rebuilding year. So,
Yeah.
like if it were a lot of G6 teams in UConn shoes, I'd be selling that team because they don't play in a G6 league. They play an independent schedule, a tougher schedule. That's what it has to do. That's what it has to do with. So that's why UConn has been my only sell in terms of win totals this year in the G6 because it's
Hmm.
just even though again they're independent, but they're essentially my only G6 sell because it's just these other leagues are just crapshoots at the bottom. Honestly, from the middle to the bottom, they're crapshoots. So
Yeah.
the difference between a team that goes 7-5 and 4-8 literally comes down to fourth quarter execution.
Coaching,
Yeah,
quarterback.
and coaching. And who knows? You can't predict that. You can look at the rosters and say, well, this team loses this guy and this guy. They retain this guy and that guy. Okay, but you know the difference between them and like 80% of their conference is going to come down to a couple of decisions in the fourth quarter with your coaching staff.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I know I don't have any futures right now. I'm gonna look a little bit deeper heading into week one. If I have anything, we'll go over that next Friday. And right now, even if I do have any futures, they don't involve any week zero team, so it doesn't matter. Do you have any other futures before we move on to the current year? Do you have anything else for us?
So I did bet a little bit on New Mexico to make the playoff.
Oh, what was that? What was that price?
1600. It's now 1700.
17. Oh, from the quarterback.
Yeah, it went down to I think 1300 or maybe 1400. So
Okay.
yeah, quarterback news. It doesn't help just because there's now the unknown factor of who's going to be their leader there. But
Mhm.
I don't think it's like derails. And by the way, the market currently agrees with that because imagine Texas State. If you heard news, Brad Jackson's out for the year with an injury. Their win total goes down to like 4.5.
Yeah.
And like their price to make the playoff would go from 2,700 to, oh my gosh, like Western Michigan's odds. Like, so like it would be insane the difference. New
Yeah.
Mexico, the quarterback goes out, their starting quarterback goes down with a season-ending injury, or I shouldn't say goes down, but he's now ruled out for the season
Mhm.
with the season-ending injury, and their playoff odds go from 1,300, 1,400 to 1,600, 1,700, depending on where you look. Their win total at
Yeah, same thing
FanDuel,
with the win total, didn't even budge.
nope. So, like, you can now maybe those tuning in, listening in this full episode can see what I was saying earlier. They won with Jack Lane, not because of Jack Lane. They won because of their defense, running game, offensive line, coaching staff. And guess what is all coming back? All of those. So, I think New Mexico still has a high floor. And if that quarterback, specifically the guy from Oregon, if he ends up clicking, then New Mexico ends up having they could end up having a higher ceiling than what they would have had with Jack Lane. So does New Mexico end up going, 7-5, 8-4, or do they have a higher chance of going 7-5, 8-4 now?
Mhm.
Slightly, yeah. But I think they also have just as good of a chance to go 10-2, 11-1. Really, I don't think that ceiling has been impacted at all.
Yeah. I agree with that, especially regarding New Mexico and the coaching staff and just their overall defense run game. I guess that's everything then regarding our futures market for the off
Um,
season. You got something else up your sleeve for us?
let's see. I did bet Western Michigan to win the MAC.
What was the price on that?
So, like I said earlier, they are the one team that the market has not agreed with me on. So
Mhm.
I got him at essentially 4-1 odds. It was like plus 390 here.
Is that what they
And
still are right now, or has that moved?
it's a better price now. It's plus 430
Okay.
at FanDuel.
Okay.
At some other books though, they're at worse prices. They're like at um plus
What
360
about Air
plus.
Force and the Mountain West? Do you think they're gonna win the Mountain West this year?
I could
Or is
see
there a
it.
better team? I
I could
mean, I
s-
know Boise's highly touted right now,
I
but
could
they got
see
they
it.
they gotta beat Western Michigan first, so
I could see it with Air Force. It's not a bet that I have in pocket,
Uh-huh.
but I mean, ultimately, I just really kind of wanted to buy New Mexico with their win total. But the thing is, like, all of these top half teams are pretty much playing each other, and there's likely going to be a matchup pitting two teams facing each other for the second time within
Yeah,
the span of less than a month or right around a month,
which is what
given how
we've
the
had,
schedule.
Boise UNLV for 3 years in a row, I believe,
Yeah,
I think.
yep. But with the way the schedule dynamics work for the Mountain West this year, I just didn't love it. And plus, like, if you were to bet on a team to win the Mountain West, I think Air Force would be the way to go,
Mhm.
because the other top half teams are all listed at like 3-1, 4-1 or so, and that's not like that great. Although I know I bet on Western Michigan, but here's the thing: I think Western Michigan has a chance to be the class of the MAC, right? Meanwhile, you look at the Mountain West. Even if you think New Mexico or Air Force or UNLV or Hawaii or North Dakota State are going to be really good, the thing is, there's a couple of other teams who could be right at that level. So, are you willing to lay that much money on a team that you're going to have to sweat out to the very end? See, I'm not. But if you gave me that same price for a team that might be a standout in their conference, that should be
Mhm.
listed, I think, closer to 2-1 or 3-1 odds for like Western Michigan. See, that's a price or something that I'm willing to bet. Like
Yeah.
James Madison last year to win the Sun Belt, I believe they were like at 3-1, 4-1. That's something that I had in pocket. I didn't release it
Yeah.
because I didn't think it was like juicy enough to really talk about on here. But that was something that I had in pocket last year because look at the Sun Belt last year. I thought JMU could be the class in that conference, and they turned out to be that. So if
Yeah.
you think a team's going to be a total standout in their respective league, like Boise State was in the Mountain West for years,
Mhm.
when Boise State literally had minus odds to win the Mountain West, you wouldn't bet minus odds on a team to win a conference. But if you thought a team was going to be at that kind of level in their respective league and you were getting like 3-1 or 4-1 odds, then that's something that I would bet. And I have
Right.
with Western Michigan.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's go ahead and move on then to the college football playoff. We'll kind of go over who we think's going to have a great year, a surprising year. We've already talked about a couple teams that you have as a shocker:
Oh,
Western Michigan, Texas State, and New Mexico. What are you going to say?
one last bet. Actually, two other bets that I've made, but I
Okay.
mean, these you're gonna have to lay more juice on than I did because of these price changes. I like Missouri under 4.5 conference wins.
And where's that at?
DraftKings, and you're gonna be laying like minus. Whew, that might be like minus 170 now. I got it at minus 140, I think. Yeah, minus 140.
And the second one?
Cincinnati under 3.5 Big 12 wins. Cincinnati under 3.5 conference wins. I got this at a minus 120 price. I think that's now minus 150.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
Both Cincinnati and Missouri, I think, are in rebuild years, and they both have two of the tougher league schedules in their conferences. In fact, like when you look at Missouri's overall win total, it's 6.5. It's pretty much even money both ways to the over to the under. I think the market is having a little bit of a
Six and a
difficult
half?
6.5 overall. But when you look at their non-conference compared to their SEC schedule,
Mhm.
Missouri should go 3-0 in the non-conference as long as they beat KU. I know it's a rivalry, and I think they do have to play at KU. Yes, they do. So I mean, I guess there's always that factor of anything can happen. But where I'm going at with this is if Missouri was to take care of business essentially in the non-conference, they go 3-0. With their current win total, based on where it is, that would mean that they are a 3 or maybe a 4-win team in the SEC. So why are they currently at 4.5 when they have games against Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss?
And who's
I,
their
I,
quarterback? Who's their quarterback?
um, Austin Simmons, the transfer from Ole Miss.
Oh, I'm not familiar.
He played a little bit last year before Trinidad became Trinidad.
Oh, he's the one who started against Kentucky?
Yeah,
Yeah, give me the under. Give me the under.
yeah.
Give me the under. I don't care what it is. Give me the under. I've
Eh,
seen enough. I've seen enough.
By the way, Missouri's strength last year and last few years has been the defense. They
Mhm.
lose all 11 starters.
Eesh. Not good. And what about Cincinnati, other than them having one of the worst coaches in college football?
Well, that's a big thing there to consider because in the Big 12, you're probably going to play in some close games. So that's, something to consider in regards to a coaching staff trying to win close games. Go back and look through the years, guys. Cincinnati doesn't do too well in close games. And, some people would say, well, that's not sustainable. They're going to figure out a way to turn that
And
around.
they
There's
had
no
an
way that,
NFL quarterback last year too, and still
yeah,
struggled.
that kind of, if you want to call it unluck or just being unfortunate, if you just want to call it being extremely unfortunate, that's not going to change if they have the same coach who can't figure out how to manage close games. So they still have, I think, one of the worst coaching staffs in the Big 12 and probably one of the worst coaching staffs among all power conference teams. And then you look at their Big 12 schedule this year. They have to face BYU, Texas Tech, Arizona, Utah. They have to face the majority of the best teams in that league. And when you look at their overall regular season win total price right now, it's currently at 5.5, shaded to the under. Okay, now if you're tuning in right now, I want you to go pull up Cincinnati's schedule, and I'll talk a little bit slower here to give them several seconds to pull that up. If you were to pull up Cincinnati's overall regular season schedule, you'll notice their non-conference is really manageable. They face Boston College, an FCS team, and Cincinnati. Now, Miami of Ohio. They
Okay.
face Miami of Ohio out of the MAC. Now, that Miami of Ohio Cincinnati game, that's a Category 4 game. John, if you remember my Category 4, that's golden opportunity for the G6. But Cincinnati is going to be at least a touchdown favorite against Miami of Ohio. So let's say,
Mhm.
similar to Missouri, Cincinnati takes care of business in the non-conference. They go 3-0. Well, with their current overall regular season win total price at 5.5, shaded to the under, that means the sports books, Vegas, and those buildings do not build themselves. Vegas thinks that Cincinnati is going 5-7 and missing out on the postseason. So if they go 3-0 in the non-conference, that would mean all they have to do is win 3 Big 12 games to make a bowl game. But if the market currently thinks they're
Mhm.
going to go 5-7, that means they may only win 2 Big 12 games. So why is their conference win total with the roster they have and the schedule that they have within conference play? Why is it at 3.5? Shouldn't it be at two and
Yeah,
a half?
it should, and I mean, at -150, that's not terrible, but I haven't seen the schedule, so I can't say for certain, but what's this coach's name again?
Scott Satterfield.
Satterfield. No, he's not a good coach. I've never been a fan of him. Fade Cincinnati more times than not, and now they're not even gonna have a quarterback. So yeah, I mean I agree with you 100% on this one.
I'm pulling up conference wins right now. The SEC, Missouri under 4.5 is now at -170. Yep. And
Okay,
then
I got that.
Cincinnati is now at -156 to the under.
156. Okay.
But I got that at -120. If that were still at that price, I would highly recommend that. I actually posted that on CFE a few months ago.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like those plays. I think let's see. Oh, I've put a little bit on Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame to win the national championship.
Okay,
It,
so that's moving on to the college football playoff. All right. So you have Texas. What price did you get that at?
750,
Really? That's not too bad. And then Oregon, what price was that?
10-1.
Okay. And what was the number, the third one you mentioned?
Notre Dame, I think they were either at 7-1 or 750.
Okay. That's actually a pretty good number for Notre Dame. They have to be one of the schools that brings back a ton of talent, right?
According to Bill Connolly, Notre Dame returns the most production in the entire country.
Okay, yeah, I would have, if I had a bet on it, I would have bet Notre Dame would have been number 1, and so that's huge, especially because they really turned it on last year, and you could say they got shafted. They didn't get shafted with the college football playoff. My opinion, they lost to Miami straight up. Miami should have gotten into the playoff, so I don't have any problems there. Now Notre Dame has their special clause. Is that still a thing? That as long as they finish in the top 15, that's automatic qualifier for the Irish to get into the college football playoff?
Or is it top 12?
I'm not too sure. It's somewhere
They
around there.
they do have that. It's either top. I think it's top 12. But yes,
Okay.
that rule is in place. I just
And
forgot
what about
exactly
Notre
what the
Dame's
rule is.
schedule? Who do they play? Anything difficult? I can't say out of conference because they don't even have a conference.
Yeah.
But again, that's we're not going to waste any time talking about that. But do they have like any marquee matchups rather?
Oh yeah, they've got one in particular. I'm going to say two in particular.
Do they
First and
play Miami
foremost,
again?
they host Miami.
Okay,
I
good.
believe that would be November 7th. It's week 10.
Okay.
And then they play at BYU.
Oh. Day game? Night game?
I think it's a night game. I can pull that up.
That'll
And
be
then
interesting.
Notre Dame also hosts SMU.
Okay.
They play
I remember
Wisconsin
that
Lambeau
one.
Field,
They play who at Lambeau?
Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure LSU fans get some PTSD with that.
Um, okay, so a decent non-conference schedule or a decent, schedule, marquee matchups. I wouldn't consider Wisconsin a top team, but, a lot of people are high on SMU. Do I believe it? I'll believe it when I see it. As we know, there's a lot of hype for Kevin Jennings and this SMU team. Jennings to win the Heisman. I've gotten into fights with some people online because I'm a non-believer with Kevin Jennings. I'm a non-believer. Reasons why: I saw him play and choke with the game on the line against Clemson, Penn State. Not only the game, the season on the line. And then last year at Cal, all they had to do was win, and they would have won the ACC and went on to the college football playoff for the second year in a row. But they couldn't even beat Cal Berkeley. So we'll have to wait and see about SMU. We know the ACC is not that strong of a league, but we'll have to wait and see. Do you have anything else for the college football playoff right now, or any thoughts?
I've got my G6 long shots. And if I were to
And
win,
the three that we just discussed.
yep, and that's it. If I were to win though, one of those G6 futures there, New Mexico,
Mhm.
I would have a payout of about $600, but Texas State and Western Michigan, I would have a payout of close to 2,000.
Yeah,
Because I,
I
I, I,
mean, it's live. You never know with these G6 lottos. I can't really fault you for them. So
I, I bet Western Michigan twice to make the playoff because I said earlier, I bet $10 on 800 to one odds. I
yeah,
also had better
eight
odds early.
thousand, 8,000 to one. Or wait, what did you say? It was plus 8,800 to one, right?
Yeah, 800 to
Okay,
1, and then, but I bet that, a couple times, and
okay,
then I have Texas State at, 3,500, and then I also bet them at another book that didn't have quite as good of a price. So, if Texas State I bet them, I bet Texas State at 3,500 at,
hmm
to make the playoff at FanDuel. Early on in the summer, I bet Texas State at DraftKings think it was 2,100 or 2,200 to make the
Hmm.
playoff. So if the Bobcats make the playoff, I'll have a lot. It'll be a good payout there. Same thing with Western Michigan.
Okay. All right. And then for myself, like I said, I don't have any futures right now, but if I was to have like a top three of national championship, it would be, I believe, I would say in this order, it would be Notre Dame, Miami, and Texas. No, I wouldn't say in that order because I really don't know what to expect from Notre Dame. Texas, there's a lot of rumblings going on about stuff behind the scenes. Sarkeesian, and we'll have to wait and see what happens with the Longhorns. Miami, I'm high on Mensa as at quarterback, and they bring in Chris Johnson from SMU at running back. We'll see how he does. See if he gets more touches. As they do lose a lot of key talent, especially on the offensive line, quarterback, and on the defensive side of the football, mainly Ruben Bain, but the other players were fairly young on the national championship team on the defense. So we'll see how they do. And like we discussed, Notre Dame's going to have the Heisman favorite CJ Carr under center, and one of the most experienced teams in the country coming back. All they have to do is get into the playoff, but of course, they're going to have to face a gauntlet once they get into the playoff, and they did it once before to make it to the national championship. Got stomped out by Ohio State because they just weren't big enough and they weren't fast enough, and just period, they weren't the better team. So it's fair. It's fine. But we'll see how they do this year because it should be a different story. So if I had to pick three teams right now, that would be my top three. And regarding the Heisman race, I don't I've been trying to look for a long shot here, but I really haven't found one. I do think either I
Brad
I don't know
Jackson.
if Carr is going to win the Heisman. I think Mensa for Miami, as long as he stays healthy, I think he'll win the Heisman. I don't have a long shot. Arch Manning, if Texas has a good season, more than likely, he's going to win the Heisman. I think so. But I couldn't find any long shots. But I know you have a couple long shots. What do you have, or what did you find?
Brad Jackson, Texas State. I'm just joking. It's a popularity vote.
And
Um,
what were the odds on that? I'm surprised it was even available.
I don't even know if those are. I just randomly said that. I don't
Oh,
even
okay.
know.
I was about to say, I was like, man, if even finding that, yeah, maybe I know Circa usually has a list of like 100, 200 guys, so maybe he's on that list. I haven't looked. That's something that you know what, I'll look up later.
I'm
But
looking it up right now. Let's see.
because usually you gotta look, they have like a giant sheet, so I haven't looked at it, so I don't know if he's on there or not. But last year they did have a ton of names and a lot of G6 players, so maybe he is on there. 200, I would say 200 to one's usually what they put those players. So if I was to guess the odds, I would say
I'm not seeing him.
230, 250 to 1.
I don't have any Heisman long shots. I've never bet on a Heisman long shot in my life.
Funny story, I'll go ahead and bring this up. So, back in the day on 5 dimes, I was between 2 quarterbacks to win the Heisman, and, I was gonna put $100. I was like, "You know what? I kind of I have a good feeling on both of these guys, but I don't wanna split it 50 and 50 on 2 different players. I just wanna put $100 on one guy and stick with it the entire season." And it was, I don't know what year it was, but it was between the Houston Cougars quarterback. I think his last name was Ward,
Yo,
Greg
Cam
Ward,
Ward.
Greg Ward.
Greg Ward. Yeah, Cam Ward. Greg Ward. Yeah,
I was
Greg
gonna
Ward
say Cam
Jr.
Ward, but Greg Ward Jr. and then Lamar Jackson. I ended up putting it on Greg Ward Jr. and not Lamar Jackson, so I would have had a great cash there.
Oh my
But
gosh.
Lamar Jackson was 100 to one that year. At least I remember it on 5 dimes. So, but I didn't bet it though. So
Man,
I
that's
took
crazy.
Greg Ward Jr. instead.
That could have been like the best future ever for you.
I know, didn't happen though, unfortunately. And last year I had two. I had I think I did 50-50 on Pavia and Fernando Mendoza. Before, I think this was after the first week of the season or something like that. So it was decent odds. But um, other than that, I'll keep looking at the Heisman race because again, I don't think I have anybody on this weekend's game week zero's games that I think can win the Heisman. But I will look a little bit deeper. So hopefully I have something by our next show next Friday. But right now I don't have anything in the Heisman. Was that all you kind of had, or did you have anything?
I don't have anything else futures wise. I was saying earlier, I would not recommend unless you just have a team program coach that you're just selling overall in the
Uh huh.
G6 landscape. I wouldn't really recommend selling too many G6 teams. And I don't have any G6 unders here for you, but I mean, I can give a list of some G6 teams that I think are in for rebuild years, but I don't know if that means they're going to hit the under or not. But um,
Yeah.
I'll give you a few teams here, John, that I think are in uphill battles this year. I'll put it that way.
All right.
Um,
What do you have?
Buffalo, they had a lot of They had a veteran team last year. They
Hmm.
highly disappointed. But
Did you have a Buffalo future last year? No.
mm-mm.
Okay.
I had him as best bets all the time, weekly best
Yeah. Okay.
bets.
Maybe
But
that's what it was because I feel like we talked about Buffalo a lot last year. I just couldn't
we did.
remember
I didn't
if you
have any
had a.
preseason futures, thank goodness. But
Okay.
I did have some weekly best bets, and I think I only got maybe one of them right or something. I remember I lost a couple of them. And oh my gosh, do you remember that bad beat I had with the Troy team total under against Buffalo?
That was last year, right? Because weren't they a 14, they had like a 14, 17 point lead, Troy did, and they ended up losing?
Well, I had a Troy team total under. I think it was under 17 and a half or under
Uh-huh.
18 and a half or under 19 and a half, something like that. And Troy was shut out. They had 0 points going into the fourth quarter. And not only did they end up coming back and winning that game, but I lost that Troy team total as well.
Yeah, I do
In
remember that.
regulation, it wasn't even overtime. It was regulation, all in the
Well,
fourth quarter.
so I mean, we could we'll save that for next week whenever we touch on all the week 1 games, then we'll go over kind of, what you're talking about right now about up, down, that sort of thing. But what I do know, you have some look ahead lines.
Yeah,
Not necessarily for week 1, but some games beyond that. Let's go ahead and touch on those. So go ahead and, I'll bring up the list, but that way I can follow along with you. But go ahead, let's touch on those look ahead lines that you have so far this season.
speaking of look ahead, a look ahead to next week's show as well. Just a teaser right here, John. Again, I'm not selling any of these G6 teams, but
Mhm.
I do think these respective G6 teams are in rebuild years. I am not saying to parlay this as unders. I'm saying no, stay away from these, but I'm saying also like don't buy these teams because I think they're in rebuild years.
Yeah.
Buffalo, Southern Miss, Northern Illinois, Missouri State, North Texas.
North, you're mean green. You're mean
Yeah.
green.
I also don't like how the schedules not that these schedules weigh that heavy, that not that they are that much more difficult than one another in these respective
Mhm.
D6 leagues. That's why I'm not saying take the under because I haven't. These are
Yeah.
not plays of mine. I just think these G6 teams are in for uphill battles. But you know what? So is a lot of their competition. We talked about it earlier on in the show, John. A lot of these American Conference teams have a lot of production to replace. So who knows?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is stay away from betting these teams is what I'm really saying. Stay away from them. But yeah, those teams are in. They have a lot of production to replace. All
Yeah.
those teams do. So I'm not too high on any of those G6 teams. But then again, I'm not high on their competition. So who knows? That's your quick teaser into next week, folks. Of more of some not so high quality games in the G6 this year.
There you go. Well, let's start as I'm looking at your
Oh,
list right now.
the look
Let's
ahead.
start
Yeah.
with your look ahead lines. We'll start with week 2. We'll save week 1 for next week, and let's just jump into week 2. and the others that you have here.
All right, so yeah, let's look at week 2 here. Here are the games I'm looking at, and here are the specific futures that I'm going to be attacking. Old Dominion at Virginia Tech. I'm gonna want to take that under for the overall point total of the game. Old Dominion's defense
Do we
should
have
be really.
are there numbers out yet, or this is just
I
kind of
I don't think there
oh,
are, but
okay,
if there are, folks, then go bet these right now if there are. I have not looked since last night. I didn't see any last night.
okay,
At least not of the major sports books, which is the only ones I really look at.
yeah.
I'm not betting any offshore stuff, so um, but yes, Old Dominion at Virginia Tech. Take that under whenever it releases. If it's open right now, again, go bet it right now. Old Dominion's defense will be really good this year. I think it's going to be one of the 3 best defenses among all the G6 teams, along with New Mexico and Fresno State from the Pac-12. But offensively, Old Dominion last year, they had Colton Joseph and a lot of those guys. Old Dominion loses 10 starters off that offense. The only returnee is at running back. The offensive line is in a huge rebuild. So are a lot of the defensive lines in the Sun Belt. So don't take the Old Dominion under on the win total. Again, stay away from these G6 unders, but you can take the point total under for Old Dominion at Virginia Tech. I like that one for
You
week
don't have a
2.
lot of faith in your boy James Franklin?
Well, I do. Virginia Tech should win that game. I just think Old Dominion's defense is really good to where they can keep it, respectable loss, say 24-10
24-10. Okay. So
or 24 to
probably
7.
the total might be like maybe 40, 42,
Yeah.
somewhere. Okay.
But like I could see a final score of like 20-0 if Old Dominion's offense is that bad. As long
Uh-huh.
as Virginia Tech doesn't turn the ball over in that game, I think that under hits.
Okay. And what's the next one?
I like Maryland to cover at UConn. So here's my one true G6 fade on the win totals. In the
Uh-huh.
win totals department, I'm taking that UConn under. I'm hammering that under. Well, I'm also hammering that Maryland over, right? I love Maryland to cover at UConn. A lot of people are going to look at this matchup as, hey, maybe the G6 team could win if they categorize UConn as a
Yeah.
G6 team. Then they'll look at that as a matchup where the G6 team is live to win it. No, they're not. Maryland should win that game, and they should win it decisively. I don't think UConn's going to move the ball that much, if at all, against that Maryland defense, which should be pretty good this year. Specifically, the Maryland pass rush should be a very good unit. You want to talk about underrated, John? Look towards that Maryland pass rush, that defensive end room. Very good. And then, of course, Washington, that young Maryland quarterback that was actually okay last year, but his receivers led the entire country in drops. It's a new look Maryland receiver room, so they
Don't
can't be
remind
any
me.
worse.
And
They can't.
they got a great defensive line. They got a
Yes.
defensive line. They got NFL players on that team.
Yes, they do, man. And they also have future NFL players at every level of the defense behind him, linebacker and in the secondary. Now,
Yeah.
Maryland's not as deep as like an Ohio State or a Michigan or an Indiana and Oregon, but that top end talent, and it's again, they're not deep, but that very top end talent, Maryland's got some real dudes, and I think it's going to show, especially early on in the season before people really start paying attention to the
Mhm.
terrible turtles this
Yeah.
year. So watch out for the Terrapins there. Maryland to cover at UConn. Love that for week 2. Give me FIU to cover against Buffalo. So FIU is a currently trending up G6 program. Buffalo's going to be a younger team this year. Now, Buffalo's win total is 5.5, shaded to the over. Again, folks, do not take that under because Buffalo has a very easy max schedule. So they may not be any good this year and they still might squeak out bowl eligibility. That's why I'm saying don't take these G6 unders because all these G6 teams are in the same boat, especially a lot of these MAC schools. And a lot of the Conference USA schools are too. But Buffalo's going through a youth movement. FIU returns a good amount of production. They actually have some sneaky good talent at the skill position. And more importantly, it's at FIU in September. So we're talking that Florida humidity. A lot of those Buffalo players are not used to that, and it's a younger Buffalo team. Don't take the Buffalo under, but do take FIU to cover against Buffalo there in week 2. And then I kind of hinted at this way early on in the video, John.
Mhm.
Give me Delaware to cover at Vandy in week 2. Delaware is a old, experienced team. Vandy is the young team. Look, I don't want to say Delaware's live to win this game. It's a category 4 game of mine, John, only
Mhm.
because I didn't have many good category 4 games to pick this year. So I'm being nice by including that matchup as category 4 because in other years that would be like category 3, which means weirder things can happen. For those that don't know what I'm talking about referencing my category games here, go look at my college football Instagram page. I have category 1, category 2, category 3 and category 4 games. That's pitting the Power 4 against the G6. Category 1 I consider to be for sure wins for the Power 4, so little to no upset potential for the G6. Category 2, it's quality against quality. So it's Boise against Oregon, Western Michigan against Michigan, Texas State against Texas, UTSA against Texas, so forth. Category 3, it's like the weirder things can happen. So it may not be the games on your radar, but don't be shocked if a couple of these happen. So like Oklahoma State at Tulsa or Arizona at Washington State. So I like to look at especially towards those road games for the Power
Mhm.
Four in Category 3. And then Category 4, I had 8 games this year, and one of those 8 was Delaware Vandy. Not because I think Delaware is live to win it, but because of the 150 plus matchups of the G6 against the Power 4, it best fit Category 4, at least for this year's selection of games,
Mhm.
because the games this year, the G6, I don't think they're going to win many against the Power 4. Keep that in your back pocket for later, folks. So I like Delaware to cover against Vandy because you're probably going to be looking at a 2 touchdown spread at least there. And I
Mhm.
think, Delaware could hang around. That's it for week 2.
Okay. I'm curious what the spread's gonna be there. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see because I haven't looked, but I don't think it would be out yet. But speaking of that, the reason why we also do have a Monday show, and sometimes you do tweet it out, some of these openers that you fire off on Sundays whenever they come out, usually in the afternoon or evening, and then we usually talk about them on the Monday show. And what's your Twitter handle again? It's at CFE Grind,
It is
or
at
I don't know, where
CFE
you post
Grind.
it on Twitter or
It's
you post on Instagram.
I'll be posting on Twitter.
Okay.
Of course, I might just save them for the Monday show because the way my work schedule is
Uh-huh.
this year, I'm not really going to be tweeting out stuff Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening.
Okay.
But yeah, my Twitter handle, at least for my betting page, is at CFE Grind, and CFE is capitalized.
Okay, then yeah, we'll hold off on them until the Monday show then. So week 3, what do you have here?
Week 3, give me Texas State to cover against North Texas. And UNT is a bit of in a rebuild year, like almost half or that half the American, if not more than half the American, is
Mhm.
in. So again, don't take the UNT win total under, but you can fade them here in this specific spot against the Texas State team, who I do recommend taking the over for. So I do recommend buying Texas State in the win
Mhm.
totals department, as well as this matchup here against the Mean Green. Also, North Texas, they have not been a good road team for several years running. And Texas State's been a much better home team than they have been road teams. So give me Texas State to cover at home against the visiting North Texas Mean Green in week 3. Um, Iowa State versus Bowling Green in week 3. Give me that game total under for whenever that opens. Bowling Green's defense should be decent by max standards. Their offense, whew, not looking too pretty. Iowa State in a huge rebuild this season. I've considered taking the Iowa State under because it's not a G6 team. I'm okay with selling a power conference team.
Mhm.
Um, so um, I'm gonna want to take that under though for that game because I could see that being an ugly game, like whew, 21-6. Or
Oh, wow.
maybe
Yeah.
Bowling Green stays with Iowa State and they lose 20-17.
Mhm.
Or maybe it's lower scoring than that, but I'm gonna want to take that under for that game. And then also looking at another under here, I love this one, John. Give me the under. Hammer the under between Oklahoma and New Mexico. I was referring to this matchup earlier. This is a trap game for the Sooners,
Mhm.
but the strength for both New Mexico and Oklahoma is going to be their defense, both teams. New Mexico, I think, will have the best defense, at the very least, one of the few best defenses in the G6. Meanwhile, Oklahoma will have one of the best defenses in the Power Four. And because it's kind of a trap game, do we really know how much Oklahoma's going to show in this game? Or do they keep their foot on the gas the entire time? Do they sleepwalk for a little bit?
Yeah.
I love the under there. I could see a final score of like, I've been referring to this as a common score, but like 24-10.
Oh, I don't know. That's pretty low. That's pretty low. 24 to 10 is pretty low. Last time we thought it was going to be a low scoring game against Temple. I think it was what 60 to 10.
I don't remember. It wasn't close though. We thought Temple might cover, but
That
I don't
this,
know.
okay, but this is something that will I think the total will be
45 ish.
50, 50 something, 52, 53. So I'm trying to think what it
Oh, you think
was
it'll be
for
that
the
high?
Temple game. I'm trying to think what it was for the Temple game. Maybe I'm thinking 43, but you gotta think of it as maybe a what was the spread, like a 38
Um,
point spread.
oh
Yeah,
no, it was like a 24-point spread.
the Temple game.
Yeah,
And try it.
or
I'm
21-point spread.
yeah, uh, but we'll have to wait and see. That's something that we'll keep an eye out. And then actually, to go over your next couple, these might be listed as games of the year somewhere, so they may be available because they're conference games.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's going to be. We'll start with the first one here for week 4, and that's Cal against Clemson. Go
Give
ahead.
me give me Cal outright. So when we do
Who's the home
our
team here?
Cal.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I'm not, let's see. I mean, unless like for any team that I'm taking to cover the spread, the there's only two teams that I'm taking to cover the spread on the road, and that's Maryland at UConn because I'm buying Maryland, I'm selling UConn, and
Uh
then
huh.
Delaware against Vandy just because I think it might be such a large spread. Oh,
Hmm.
well, at least of my way too early look ahead lines, there will be
Yeah.
a couple of road teams that I'll look to cover next week, but that's just because the spreads are just gigantic. So
Yeah.
unless I'm taking a gigantic road dog to cover, like if I'm taking a team to cover a spread that's probably going to be priced, below 2 touchdowns,
Hmm.
I'm taking the home team to cover. If I'm taking a road dog, that spread's going to be at least above 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like I'm
No,
not going
I
to take a
mean,
road dog to cover a spread that's shorter than 2 touchdowns because I just feel like when you have the home team, they might, have that put them away score late, and you might be sweating
yeah.
that out. So I just
Been there.
Yeah, so I just don't like to do that in those situations. But Cal to cover against Clemson, Cal will be at home. I like Cal outright in that game. So weeknight weirdness. Clemson. I kind of hinted at this last year with you, John. I made some Clemson mistakes in 2025, which I will
That was
not
your
be.
team. That was your
That was my
team.
team,
That
man.
was your team, and they shit the bed from day one.
Oh yes, they did. Oh yes, they did.
And
And
and,
that
and
was,
Cal was my team, and they did all right. They did all right. I like the
yeah.
quarterback, but
Everyone was
now they
selling
won't be.
Cal last year, and here you were buying them, and you turned out to be right. Good for you.
Yeah, yeah, but we'll see how they do. They're not going to sneak up on anyone this year, so it'll be
Yeah, yeah.
interesting to keep an eye on the Cal Bears.
Uh, I've got two other matchups that I absolutely love for Week 4, and now
Yeah,
we'll
go
look
ahead.
towards that Saturday. Florida to cover against Ole Miss. That's like one of my favorite game of the year lines. I don't know if it's been released yet, but that's one of my favorite matchups and favorite individual game predictions for this fall. Ole Miss.
Did Has Florida beaten Ole Miss 2 years in a row? Did they win last year?
I know they won 2 years ago. I don't think they won last year.
No. Okay. I can't. I couldn't remember,
No,
but
they
for some
didn't
reason,
because Ole Miss only had one loss last year. It was to Georgia in the
okay.
regular season. At least they only had one loss.
Okay. Then I'm just thinking of 2 years ago to kick them out of the playoff. Then.
Yeah, and Florida was kind of falling apart towards the end of last year. Now, I do think Florida stayed with Ole Miss for a while, if I remember correctly, but Ole Miss ended up winning that game.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
And so anyways, Ole Miss, they're going to be coming off their Super Bowl against LSU, and they're going to Gainesville. This is a big time matchup for the Gators, a chance to really make a statement early on in the season with the new coaching staff and a roster that actually returns a lot of talent. The biggest questions for Florida is actually at the two most important positions, at quarterback and offensive line. So if Florida can somewhat answer those questions at those two positions, I think the Gators could be a sneaky, legit team this year. Uh,
Yeah, Florida did have a halftime lead last year, 24-20, and then, uh, Ole Miss ended up winning 34-24, so it was a close game, so sorry.
so yeah, I think Florida is. I wouldn't be shocked if Florida's actually a short favorite in that matchup against Ole Miss. It might be one of those games where you've got a top 10, top 15ish team in Ole Miss,
Mhm.
unless they lose to LSU or Louisville, which they definitely could, but you
Yeah.
could certainly have a top 15 Ole Miss team in that game that's going on the road against an unranked team, against a potentially unranked team in Florida, and the unranked team is favored, and everyone's wondering why they're favored, and then you find out.
Yeah.
I could see that being that kind of matchup. Or Ole Miss is a short favorite, and then you just have a live dog in that situation with the Gators. But yeah, anyways, it's a great spot for Florida in that matchup. Again, Ole Miss coming off the LSU game, so I would expect there to be some degree of an emotional letdown. And now there is a coaching upgrade for Florida and coaching questions for Ole Miss because we don't really know exactly what to expect from this Ole Miss coaching staff.
I I
But
would I would agree with that, because well, no, I don't know. You'd have to look it up and see if these are games of the year right now, which I honestly have no idea. But the next one you have here, Western Michigan against Boise State. We talked about this earlier. What do you have here?
give me the home Broncos in that matchup. Give me Western Michigan to cover against Boise. You're probably going to be seeing a spread once that matchup um, is announced. Once those that spread is released, you're probably going to be looking at a spread of Boise minus anywhere from like 5.5 to 8. I would think
Boise on the road, about maybe.
a touchdown favorite or so, give or take a
Okay.
point and a half or so.
Okay.
Um, especially if you can get Western Michigan at like +8 or better, that's definitely best bet material 100% because I think you're looking at another live dog situation. But I wouldn't be shocked if the spread's only like 5.5, 6, 6.5. But I would still be inclined to at least money line sprinkle with Western Michigan at that point. But if you get
Mhm.
a number over a touchdown, definitely take Western Michigan plus the points, and again a little bit of a money line sprinkle on the home Broncos and Western Michigan from Kalamazoo there. That's a great matchup. That's again an overlooked matchup when you look at the G6 national landscape this year.
Yeah, I
Great.
mean, based off of our conversations today and how you talked about it, this is an early. It's a huge game for both schools
Oh yeah,
in regards to the path to the college football playoff. So that's
it
that's a
is.
big non-conference game. So yeah.
And then looking ahead to week 5 for one matchup here, I love Northwestern to cover against Penn State. I'm looking at another weeknight weirdness here. I believe this will be Friday, October 2nd, if I remember the date exactly
Oh, Big Ten
correctly.
Fridays.
Sometimes weird things happen on weeknights. We've seen that. We've talked about it on the show multiple times. And here's another thing to consider, a couple of things actually. That's going to be the opening game for Northwestern's new home football stadium.
Oh, that's right. That's the first game, week 5?
For that new stadium of theirs. Yep.
Wow. They play 3 road games to start the season with a bye maybe? That's
Um,
that's odd scheduling, but
I've got them pulled up right here.
I'm curious.
Yeah, they play. Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have an early bye Saturday, September 12th, Northwestern does not play anybody. But on September 5th, they host South Dakota State. That's going to be right now. They have that at Medicine Field at Martin Stadium in Evanston, Illinois. I don't know what
Okay.
stadium that is. And then they play Colorado, same place, and then against Penn State.
Oh, so it's not even open yet. That's why. Is that
Yeah,
am I correct? It's not even open yet.
the new Ryan Field is going to be opening against Penn State on that Friday night. But
Wow,
even
that's
more
interesting.
importantly, Penn State that week, they may have a little bit of a look ahead because the week after, in fact, I'll say the 2 weeks after, Penn State will be hosting USC and then at Michigan.
So they play
So,
Northwestern, USC, Michigan?
yep, and that Northwestern game for Penn State is right before Penn State's whiteout against the Trojans.
Okay. All right. And that was all of them. Is that
Yep.
everything? We you ready to jump into the week 0 action and get the season started? We just knocked out the preseason, the off season. You ready to begin the season here with week 0?
Um, I guess one last thing here in
Let's
regards
hear
to
it.
futures.
Yeah.
So those 6 G6 teams that I took the overs for, I took those individually, of course, as separate win total bets, but I also parlayed all 6 of those. And I think it was, let me pull this up here. What was the price? Wow. Okay. The price was plus nearly nearly 300 to 1 odds.
On what?
It was plus 2008-26 on Western Michigan over 7.5, Florida Atlantic over 5.5, Air Force over 6.5, New Mexico over 8.5, Texas State over 6.5, Delaware over 5.5.
Oh, you parlayed all of them
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to talk
except for
about Delaware.
Delaware.
I forgot to talk about Delaware. So I took Delaware over 5.5 as well.
Okay, let me write that down.
That's right. Forgot about.
Delaware over 5.5. And what was did has that changed? What was the
Yep.
juice on that?
It's now at 6.5, juiced under
It's now at 6.5. Okay. And how many wins do you think they're gonna get this year?
7 or 8, probably 7.
Oh, okay.
Because their non-conference is tricky. They have to play at Vandy and they have to play at Virginia.
And do you think they're gonna win the conference this year?
I could see it, but I think there's probably 5 or even 6 teams in Conference USA
Yeah,
that
I
are.
mean, they're all basically equal, right?
I think it's
Conference
easier.
USA?
Conference USA.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Nick Minicucci, if you don't know that name, learn it. That's Delaware's starting
Minicucci.
quarterback. Yeah, I know, right? So much fun to say. But he's one of the better quarterbacks in the G6. But so I know I talked about Western Michigan, Florida Atlantic, Air Force, New Mexico, Texas State, and then Delaware. Was there another G6 team that I talked about? Is that it?
I've got Air Force, Florida Atlantic, Western Michigan, Texas State, New Mexico, Yukon, and Delaware.
Yeah, UConn was my only sell. That is correct. And but yes, I do have a parlay there with the 6 overs, and that was at a plus 2,826 price. I put $40 on that, $40 wager to win just over $1,100.
Okay, so at DraftKings, right, you parlayed all of these for
FanDuel.
$40 to win. Oh, at FanDuel.
I did at
At FanDuel, you
FanDuel.
could parlay the win totals. It has to be a win total.
Yeah,
And okay. And the odds were you said 300 to 1?
just about. It was plus 2,826.
Okay, well there you go. All right, well, if that's everything, let's go ahead and kick the season off and get into week 0. Are you ready?
And 3 of those win totals within that parlay have already gone up a full win, so I'm already feeling good about that.
Oh, well, there you go.
I
You
just
can
gotta
cash out
hope
now,
that
you'll be in the green.
New Mexico can win with the quarterback and not lose because of the quarterback.
We'll be talking about it all season, so
Yeah.
we'll wait and see what happens. But let's go ahead and jump into week 0 and we get started what, the 3rd, 4th year in a row will we get started in Ireland? Is this the 3rd year in a row, Ireland?
Gosh, I don't know. Did it start with Florida State and Georgia Tech?
I'm trying to think. Um, I think Notre Dame
Notre Dame
Navy,
Navy?
Notre Dame Navy, and then Georgia Tech, Florida State, and then Kansas State, Iowa State, and then
Oh, 4th
now we've got
consecutive
North
year.
Carolina against TCU. So let's jump into it. All right. So we got North Carolina Tar Heels and all of their dysfunction or alleged dysfunction from general manager Lombardi to Bill Belichick, Steve Belichick, the bride to be. We've got going up against the TCU Horned Frogs. We know the Horned Frogs. I believe this was a 7.5 point spread last season in Fort Worth. No, this was actually at North Carolina. North Carolina was a home team last year. 7.5, 7 point spread here. TCU loses their quarterback Hoover to Indiana, but Sonny Dykes, it sounds like he's pretty. He likes the team that he has, and he thinks they're even better this year than they were last year, and they will be fighting for a Big 12 championship. Right now, TCU's laying 9 points. It kind of open, I want to say 7.5. With the dysfunction, TCU shot up to 9.5, and it's settled right now at 9. I'm looking at Bet Online right now. It's at 9 at minus $1.10 with a total of 46.5. What do you got for us on this game?
Based on the previous Ireland matchups, I lean to the under here. I don't really have any best bets here. Uh, Generally, I don't trust this North Carolina team. It's a really young squad this year, and I, as bad as North Carolina was last year offensively, and they still have so many questions on that side of the ball, I don't really trust their offense much here. But TCU has a number of questions defensively. I think there's both their starting safeties they lose from last year. One because of um, moving on in the next level or graduation, and then the other one just got kicked off the team because of an off the field issue.
Is he the one that was fighting?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a whole scandal, apparently, ongoing. I think I saw TCU kicked off some news outlet. They're not allowed to cover that. I don't know. I didn't
Oh,
look too
yeah.
deep into it. It didn't
I didn't
really
either.
matter. You did?
Um, no, I didn't either.
Oh, okay.
I just remember seeing that headline on Twitter, but I didn't read anything about it. I just saw
Yeah,
the
neither did I.
headline.
Yeah, it didn't really matter to me. But it sounds like TCU's got their starting quarterback to transfer from Harvard. Is that right?
Yeah, Jaden Craig.
Is he supposed to be good? How's he? What do we
He
got with him?
he's supposed to be good. I actually haven't really looked into him that much this year, so I really don't know a whole lot about either of these teams. Um, so I don't really have any best bets for you in this game, and I don't really. I mean, like I lean TCU because I just don't have faith in
Mhm.
North Carolina being a younger team. But like in terms of the individual position group matchups, I don't really have any great info for you for this matchup.
Yeah, and do you know the starting quarterback for North Carolina? I believe he's a transfer, but I'm blanking on who he is.
Yeah, it's a former Maryland, Wisconsin guy that got hurt last year.
Oh, that's who their quarterback is? Edwards Jr., something like that?
Something like that.
Billy
Bi
Edwards Jr.?
Thank you, that's it.
Alright, okay, so, uh, yeah, that gives me no confidence in North Carolina because how are they gonna score the football? I I don't know. What
Where
scares me about this matchup, which it's a weird matchup because last year, if you remember, this was actually kind of a close game in the first half. I believe North Carolina had a pick six. Gio Lopez threw an interception. They took it for a touchdown. I want to say it was 21-7 at halftime, and then North Carolina scored on the first drive of the second half. I could be wrong there. And then after that, TCU just ran the ball for about 400 yards and just destroyed North Carolina. Um, but with 90% of people, it's close to 90% of people betting on TCU. It does not give me a lot of confidence that TCU is going to run away with this game. And when Bill Belichick, he's whenever he could be sneaky just like he was at the end of last year with, I would go ahead and say, kind of a terrible team. They're kind of a terrible team, but they got better throughout the season, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I think it's an interesting matchup here, but you know, on the list of my commandments here, you try not to bet a bad quarterback, and in my opinion, that's what Billy Edwards Jr. is.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect some degree of sloppiness here
He's
because
okay. He's okay. It just depends on what kind of offense they're running, and the neck brace. Petrino's the OC now, isn't he?
it sounds
I think
right.
Bobby
Yeah.
Petrino's the offensive coordinator right now. So they're going to want to throw the ball, which can he do that? He turnover prone. I don't like this game at all because common sense says TCU should
Yep.
dominate, but how good is TCU? How bad is North Carolina? Is the line move legitimate? Is it warranted? A 2.5 point line move? Um, I just and a TCU quarterback we don't really know much about. At least I don't. I think a lot of people are betting against Bill Belichick and the chaos going on around in North Carolina, and people are buying TCU based off of the performance last year. But I'm not sold on either team, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout. But I also wouldn't be surprised if North Carolina grinds out a one-score game.
I think this game will be a slugfest. So
They
like
play on a
it
grass field. It's probably gonna be raining.
yep. The games in Ireland typically are a little sloppy.
It
Um
was last year. How many fumbles did we have in that game? At least four.
and then the FSU Georgia Tech game, that was ugly. I mean, Georgia Tech was the better team, but
Yeah,
like I mean, that was really ugly. That was even uglier than last year's matchup. So I would expect some of that same stuff
mhm.
to occur in this matchup. A lot of sloppiness again. I mean, I have more faith in TCU, but like, would I be shocked if North Carolina won? No.
Yeah. I
Who knows with this matchup? Because there's just so many unknowns for both teams.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't like anything here. I would take the points, but then I'm probably end up hating myself by like 2 o'clock. So,
You know what? If
but
I had a lean anyway, I'd just take the under and call it good.
yeah, and especially with a new quarterback regarding TCU. So, and I think North Carolina, because of what happened last year, they're going to want to play kind of keep away. So we'll see. But for me, no best bets for me on this game. And you just lean to the under, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, but like I wouldn't. I'm not betting that. I'm not putting
Yeah.
money on that. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I
what
just
did you call it? What did you call it earlier? Those degenerates that are trigger happy, they may find some action in this one, but
yeah yeah that's right.
But all right, we'll go on to the next game. If I do find something, I'll tweet it out tonight or early Saturday morning. But right now, nothing for me. Just an ugly game and just a lot of unknowns, like you said. So, next game, 2 o'clock Central Time. We got San Jose State Spartans taking on the USC Trojans. Trojans are laying 38.5 points with a total of 61.5. You got any info for us on this game?
I do have a lean. I don't have any best bets this week, but I have a few leans, and
Okay.
this is one of my leans. I lean USC team total over. If you buy it down at DraftKings, because right now it's at 49.5, slightly shaded to the under. But if you bought it down to 48.5 below that key number of 49, I think you'd be
Mhm.
laying about minus 130, maybe minus 135, which is just a little bit more juice than if you were to take under 49.5 for USC's team total. So I like USC team total over 48.5.
Okay, but that's just a lean, right? Not an official.
I don't have any best bets this week. I mean, I'll have 3 plays that I'm leaning at for this week,
Uh-huh.
so if you are trigger happy, then that's the play that I would make.
Okay. Yeah, I've got nothing here. These two, they did play each other last year, and I believe San Jose State snuck in. at the end of the game to cover the spread and backdoor it. So if I was going to play it, I'd play San Jose State and the points. But again, that's not even a lean. I want nothing to do with this game. I'm curious to see how USC looks. A lot of people there, not I wouldn't say a lot of people, but there is some momentum behind this Trojans team to make the college football playoff. How's that possible? I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. But regarding from a betting perspective, I want nothing to do with this game. I may watch it for 30 minutes until our next game kicks off, and that's at 2:30 Central Time. We're gonna have the North Carolina State Wolfpack taking on the Virginia Cavaliers, and the mighty Tony Elliott's are laying 4 points with a total of 51. You got any info for us on this one?
I know there's rumors going around about UVA might be without like 16 players, but I think practically
Oh,
all
that's right. I did. I saw that. I
yeah,
saw
but
that graphic where they had a ton of injuries.
I don't know how meaningful those guys are though.
Yeah, neither do I.
So and I heard other stuff on Twitter that those players like are not even that meaningful. So I don't really I do trust NC State's coaching staff more than UVA's. I'll say
Yeah.
that. I I I I feel confident saying that much. But in terms of the actual game that's going to be taking place on the field, whew, there's a lot of questions for these teams. UVA was a team I was kind of bullish on last year because I was kind of buying low, but now it's like,
Mhm.
well, nowhere to, there's nothing to buy from UVA anymore after they just won what 11 games, 12 games last year. Um,
Yeah,
so
and they choked the ACC championship.
they did,
So it was
and
all for nothing. Honestly, it was all for nothing. At least in my opinion. But
um, NC State, I think they will be able to move the football pretty well in this game, but they do still have questions at some of the skill position defensively because
yeah.
they had so the NC State secondary is still a big question in my mind because it was last year and they didn't perform well and they lose a lot of production. They actually lose a decent amount of production on the offensive end too around CJ Bailey, but I still think with CJ Bailey and what I think will be an overall improved offense, mostly because of Bailey just having another year of experience,
Mhm.
I think they'll be able to move the football. But UVA's defense, I do think will be okay. And I know I just talked about all the questions for NC State secondary. Virginia's receiving corps has a lot of questions this year. Um,
Did they lose all their starters?
all
3 or
most of them,
4?
most
Yeah.
of the receivers they lost to
Lost a running
graduation.
back, quarterback.
I
So,
don't really.
without further ado, that's my first best bet of the season. North Carolina State +4 on the
There you
road
go.
against Virginia, and that's kind of why I'm a big CJ Bailey fan since he was a freshman. So
Yeah,
I have confidence in him. He came on like he played extremely well towards the end of last season, and Virginia, we were high on them last year because they had a great veteran team, but that's pretty much all gone now. And who's the Virginia quarterback? Um,
Rabula.
yeah, exactly. They got a fullback playing quarterback, so that's already a minus in my book. So you got an NFL quarterback on one side, and then you have a fullback playing quarterback for Tony Elliott. So you're basically going to get 100 RPOs. So I don't know how they're going to put the ball in the end zone. And North Carolina State has had success almost every year against Virginia, even on the road. So I think the wrong team is favored in this one. I thought North Carolina State would have been favored. I don't know by a lot, but I just disagree with the pricing here. Whether it's 3.5, 4.5, I think North Carolina State wins this game. So NC State +4. I think it's at -115 right now. I love the Wolfpack in this game. I do think they'll win it outright. So you can go ahead and play the money line, sprinkle the money line. But my official play here is North Carolina State +4. I don't respect Tony Elliott, his decision making, or Bo Prabula. I do like CJ Bailey, a veteran coaching staff with the Wolfpack, Dave Doran, and the number is just completely wrong for me. So That's my first best bet of the season.
All right.
Next game, interesting game here, 4:30 Central Time. We've got the Jack State. What are these? The Gamecocks, right? They're
Yeah.
the Gamecocks. All right. Jacksonville State Gamecocks going up against North Dakota State Bison in the Fargo Dome. Bison are laying 7 points with a total of 47. NDSU, or actually Jack State was they were getting they were getting juiced at +7. Now money's coming in on North Dakota State and it's minus 119 pricing at laying a touchdown rather. You have any info for us on this game?
So this is where I have my two other leans for this week. Um, have I ever, John, talked about a player prop on here before?
I don't think so.
I like Caden Creel to go over point 0.5 touchdown passes. So one or
Who's
more.
that?
FanDuel.
No,
Hmm?
Creel. Who does he play for?
Caden
Who does he
Creel's
play?
Jacksonville State's quarterback.
Okay.
I
And
like
this
him
is rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns, because usually you
passing
have to
touchdowns.
specify, huh?
Passing touchdowns.
Okay.
To have one or more passing touchdowns in this game.
You have a
You'd be
price for that?
Yeah, there's minus 132 now. I also could see him throwing for at least 2 touchdown passes, and you can get a 4-to-1 odds there.
Oh, okay.
Juicy, but I like it because I do think,
Something new you got there. Some player props.
you know
Okay.
what? Let's just have some fun. Let's do a best bet here. Come on.
Oh, there
Let's
you
do
go.
You know what? Let's do Caden Creel to throw at least 1 touchdown pass. Um,
We'll keep your player props separate
Best bets.
from your regular. Yeah, we'll have them separate. Just
This is the
but yeah, let's go ahead and lock it in then.
Let's lock it in. So Jacksonville State, I do think they have a couple of really good receivers, namely that Johnson kid that's like 6'8".
Oh,
Um,
that's
uh,
tall.
I mean, I'll pull him up here in a second. He's
Was he a
insane.
sophomore? I remember him
He,
from last year, but was he a
he
freshman last year?
I think he was a second year player last year.
Okay.
Anyways, though, North Dakota State has some huge questions at corner, and honestly, like North Dakota State, they have a lot of production to replace from last year's team. Um, I think those wide receivers for Jacksonville State could do very well in this game because I do think this. North Dakota State prides itself on stopping the run, and
Mhm.
Jacksonville State runs the ball a lot. So what does that mean? Those young North Dakota State corners, and again, North Dakota State, a lot of production to replace from last year, and they did not rely on the portal. So they're going with the higher ceiling, lower floor guys, not the lower ceiling, higher floor guys.
Yeah.
So they're going to have some questions early on in the secondary, and there could be some one-on-one opportunities for those Jacksonville State receivers. And at least Caden Creel, I don't think he's a great quarterback, but he's got experience.
Mhm.
And I do think the Jacksonville State offensive line against that North Dakota State defensive line could be a really interesting matchup. At the very least, I think Jacksonville State's offensive line is good enough to give Caden Creel that time to pass the football. So I wouldn't be shocked, even if he doesn't have a lot of time to throw, and I think he will, or at least a
Mhm.
decent amount of time. But even if he doesn't have that much time to throw, that means he's going to be getting rid of the ball, throwing it to those wide receivers to make plays in the DBs. Either way you look at it, I think he throws for at least 1 touchdown pass. And like, if you want to sprinkle a little bit on Creel throwing at least 2 touchdown passes in this game at 4-to-1 odds, I don't hate that play either. I'm pulling up that Jacksonville State receiver here. Let me find him here.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and pull that up because
Yeah,
I
Johnson
don't
is
know
his
his
last
name.
name. 30 receptions, 24-yard average last year per catch. DeAndre Johnson, 6'8", 220.
24-yard average with 30 catches.
Yeah.
Damn.
Now, he does tend to drop a few passes per
Yeah.
game, so he'll need to improve that. There's a reason why no one picked him up in the portal. Or there's a reason why
Yeah.
he wasn't offered a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
He's inconsistent, but he's consistent and talented enough to potentially expose a question for North Dakota State in those corners. So I like Caden Creel, 1 or more touchdown passes in this game.
Okay. Perfect. And for me, I've got
Also,
you. Go
real
ahead.
quick, if anyone finds any Jacksonville State plus 7.5, I like that play as well.
Which you
It's
could probably find that you could probably buy it or find it,
yeah.
whether it be Kalshi Bet or I don't know, Bet Online probably doesn't have where you could buy it. No, you can buy it. It's gonna cost you 19 cents, but if you want it that bad, you can get it.
Not a best bet of mine for the plus 7 or plus 7.5 for Jack State, but if you do want to include it as like a player prop for the first official best bet, I guess, but we're going to be separating those two. But my first official play for this year, Caden Creel, at least one touchdown pass. I've never done a player prop. This will be fun.
Well, you did now, so we got it locked in. Okay, so and for me, I've got Jack State to cover this game. I don't know if they'll win because obviously it is a road game. Fargo Dome. It's going to be new territory for at least Jackson State. I don't know if they've played there before. I believe the last time they played each other was in FCS tournament, so maybe they have played in Fargo. I don't know that for sure. I think it's too many points here. Jack State's a veteran team, like you just said, veteran quarterback. They've got running backs, offensive line, wide receivers, and North Dakota State had to replace a lot of talent
Mm-hmm.
and laying a whole touchdown, going up in competition. So Jack State's been what, maybe 4 years at the D1 level? I'm thinking 4 years maybe.
I think this will be their fourth year.
Okay, so they've got
Well,
4 or
they've
5.
been at the D1 level for a while, but since they've been in the FBS, this is their fourth year.
Oh, FBS, excuse me. Yeah. So they've got at least a whole cycle. Rich Rod did well there, and then of course they still had a pretty good season eventually last year. So yeah, I think I like the quarterback here. I like the experience. I think a touchdown is just too many points. And again, like you said, we may see a 7.5 because now money's coming in on NDSU.
Yeah.
We'll see how it looks and how it settles, but I'm happy with getting a touchdown. 6.5, nah, it's too early. I don't know that much about these teams, but like I said, I don't a money line. You could throw something on the money line, but again, they're gonna have to win on the road in the Fargo Dome, so you know that they're gonna have a great crowd there. But just too many points for me and the veteran team, so I'll take the 7 points, and that's my second best bet of the week.
Moneyline sprinkle for me. Not a best
Oh,
bet, but a moneyline sprinkle. Yeah.
yeah. Let me. What is it? It's I'm looking at a plus 230 right now.
That's pretty good. And also a sprinkle on Caden Crow to throw at least two touchdown passes.
You said that was like 4-1.
Yeah, that's worth it.
Okay.
Because yeah, I'd honestly put it at like 1.5. Because right now it's suggested that he's going to throw one touchdown pass.
Uh huh.
I would put it at the odds of like 1.5 with like even money, saying that it could be one or two, not 0 or 1.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next game. 5:30 Central Time. We've got the Sacramento State. Are they the Hornets? The Yellow
Hornets.
Jackets? Hornets?
Hornets.
Okay, the Hornets out of the MAC conference taking on Eastern Michigan Eagles. They're the Eagles? Eastern Michigan?
Yeah, for the
Okay.
Eagles.
That just sounds weird. Eastern Michigan Eagles. But anyway, Eastern Michigan's laying 9 points with a total of 54. Is this considered a conference game or it is considered a conference game?
Sure is.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was something that was scheduled already, but I guess this is their debut, right, in the
Yep,
FBS?
sure is.
Sacramento State, that is. So, what you have any info on us? Any info for us with this
I
game?
think I think Sacramento State is in for a pretty long year with especially how their schedule works because their non-conference is a little tricky. Despite not playing any power conference competition, Sacramento State's going to have an uphill battle to make a bowl game. But, that's also like half the MAC. So we'll see if they can transition up if their first year at the FBS level, if they can overachieve. They might because again, the MAC is not that good of a league outside of a couple or a few teams at the top. Um But for this matchup, I don't have anything. I do think Eastern Michigan's going to be able to move the ball on Sacramento State. So Noah Kim, a good quarterback for Eastern Michigan, I do think he's going to have a decent amount of passing yards in this game. I haven't looked at the player props in this game, but I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up throwing all over this defense because Sacramento State's secondary has a lot of questions, and I don't
Mhm.
think their defensive line is going to be able to get much pressure this year. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be an issue the entire year. So Eastern Michigan, their team total is 31 and a half. And for like, week one or week zero,
Mhm.
I could see some sloppiness, for some teams, and I could see them Eastern Michigan hovering right around that point total. But I could see Noah Kim throwing for a lot of yards in this game. So again, I haven't looked at the player prop for that, but I could see. Let me look at that right now, John. I could see Noah Kim having a pretty good day through the air.
And Sacramento State's another team that had to replace a ton of talent, which was poor timing for them because now they got to step up to FBS competition, albeit the MAC conference. But they got a lot of work to do. And Eastern Michigan, it sounds like they've got a pretty solid offense and defense. So, but I'm just not too sure. At 9 points, I don't know enough about either team other than the quarterback Kim.
And I would stay so right now the passing yards is at 228, just evenly minus 114 both to the
Um,
over and to the under 228.5. Um no play on that because ultimately like what about if Sacramento State like their secondary I don't think will be that good. But what about if their run defense is just so bad Eastern Michigan just pushes them around up front
yeah,
and they just run the ball and hog the clock. I could also see that. Or maybe Noah Kim just throws for 400 yards. That also might be the case. I don't know.
yeah.
So no plays for me in this game. I'm just going to kick back and watch it. And you
S-
know, there's to go back to what we were saying earlier on in the video, I'm not really outside of UConn. I'm not going to be taking any unders for the G6,
mhm.
but Sacramento State is a team that I considered, but I'm not trigger happy anymore on those G6 unders. So I didn't make that a play or a win
Yeah.
total or future this year, but I'm interested to see how Sacramento State does this year. I think it'll be a rebuild year.
Uh-huh.
We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have anything here. I lean Eastern Michigan just
Yeah.
because the offense is more polished than
Yeah.
Sacramento State. I could see them bullying them and, letting them know welcome to the MAC, where the big boys play. But I just don't know for sure. I don't know enough about Sacramento State, but my gut's telling me Eastern Michigan's gonna just run all over them. It's gonna be a big step up in competition, especially because they're having to replace so much talent on both sides of the football. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. But if I had to go somewhere, I would lay the points with Eastern Michigan.
Same here.
I'm just not confident because I don't know enough about Sacramento State, but my gut's telling me lay the 9 points, and it's usually right. So, but I won't be too trigger happy on this one. So, all right, next game, 6 p.m. Central Time. We've got the New Mexico State Aggies taking on the Florida State Seminoles. Seminoles are laying 31 and a half points, and we've got a total of 54. Any info on this game for us?
Yes, I do have something. I'm actually trying to look it up right
Oh,
now. It
okay.
was really interesting info I read last night.
Good.
Trying to pull it up here.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. And this is about New Mexico State or Florida State?
This is about Florida State and actually USC, but I can't find where. Here it is. Okay. In regards to FBS versus FBS matchups in week 0 and week 1 since
Uh-huh.
2013, when one of those FBS teams is favored by at least 36 points, the favorites are 23 and 0 straight up and 18 and 5 against the spread. So USC and Florida State qualify under this category for this week.
And you
So
said FBS against FBS?
Correct.
Okay. And the spread over what now?
A spread of 36 points or more
Okay.
involving FBS versus FBS matchups
Mhm.
in week 0 and week 1 since 2013. And there's been 23 of those matchups. The favorite of 36 or more is 23 and 0 straight up and 18 and 5 against the spread.
Oh, that's interesting. And because what was it? 38.5. So yeah, that qualifies. Florida State's not there quite, but
True. That's right.
um
I'm sorry, yeah, Florida
not
State
quite
doesn't
there,
qualify for that.
but that qualifies for USC. So that's interesting. I'm kind of curious. I don't have it pulled up here. I'm kind of curious what the spread was. I can't think of it off the top of my head about what the spread was in the San Jose State USC game last year. I think it was 36 and a half. I'd have to look at that, but um that would have qualified as well. And USC didn't cover, so that would have been possibly one of the five there. So interesting. But I don't know for sure what the spread was last year. I'd have to look at it again. And I don't have it written down. I have it on my computer, but I don't. I'm not gonna. It'll slow down the show if I start moving around. But yeah. Did you have any info on this game?
No. I mean, I would expect Florida State to lay it on New Mexico State because Florida State is in need of some momentum within their program, and I don't think they're gonna, just sleepwalk in this game looking ahead to SMU next week. Like I think they're gonna look at this like, hey, we need to get off on the right foot here. So
Yeah, they've had so many slip ups in the first 2 weeks of the season, the last couple years. I don't expect them to, sleepwalk through this game. At least the preparation leading up to it, and once they get on the field. But you never know. And that would be Mike Norvell. I don't know if they would be able to keep him if they lost or if it was even a close game. But we'll wait and see. But New Mexico State, they're not working with anything powerful. Do they still have Tony Gonzalez as the coach?
yeah,
He's improved. They were okay last year. They were okay, but again, the standards are you know at the as low as they can get. So
yeah.
I don't have anything on this game. Again, huge spread. Nothing. I mean, I'll be paying attention to it for the reasons that we just discussed, but wager wise, no, nothing for me. Next game, 6 p.m. Central Time. We got the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors traveling to Palo Alto to take on the Stanford Cardinal. Stanford's laying 3.5 points with a total of 48.5. You have any info on us or any info on this game for us?
Do you remember when I was talking earlier about my different category games with the Power
Yep.
4 against the G6? Category 4 being the golden opportunity for the G6. I have 8 Category 4 games for this year's regular season, and this is one of those 8 matchups. I mean, the spread's only a field goals, so obviously Hawaii's live to win this.
Uh-huh.
But I don't have any leans. I don't have any best bets. Here's a fun fact for you, John. I had 12 Category 4 games last year, so about 33% more than I have this year.
Hmm.
Um, but I actually ended up doing okay against the spread last year in Category 4. I went 10-2 ATS.
Was speaking of that, was Hawaii Stanford one of those games last year?
Mm-hmm. I went
And what was that? A 3 point spread and Stanford
oh
won by three or
Hawaii won
no?
last year on a last second field goal, basically.
Oh,
But
so
that
they
spread
did
was
win by I was thinking Stanford won by a field goal. Okay, so
Stanford should
Hawaii
have won.
did.
Stanford should have
Oh
won.
my god. Oh, I know, but who's the head coach at Stanford? Not Frank Reich anymore, right? They actually have a coach now?
I don't remember. Let me see.
I can't think I can't Is it the old Sacramento State head coach or did they fire him and then hire Frank Reich?
Tavita Pritchard.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Let's see.
I think they fired the
He
Sacramento
was
State head coach after one season, and then they hired Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck plays Reich on the interim, and then now they hired this guy.
Yeah,
If
so
my timeline's correct.
Tavita Pritchard was the previous quarterbacks coach for the Washington Commanders, and then he was a Stanford OC and quarterbacks coach for 4 years from 2018 to 2022. And then, well, he was actually at Stanford for a while, coaching career wise. He was at Stanford from 2011 to 2022 in different roles, and then that he played quarterback for Stanford from '06 to '09.
So he was Andrew Luck's backup.
Uh, Luck came right after he did. Luck came right after Pritchard.
He got there in 2010?
Luck played for Stanford in like 2010, 2011, and then yeah,
Oh, I thought he was done at 20. Okay. I thought
well,
he
he was a starter at least those 2 years.
okay. No, he was yeah, I don't think he was ever on the bench. I think he started as a true freshman, didn't he?
So maybe Pritchard was the backup for one of those years because Pritchard was there from what? Yeah, from '06 to
I
'09.
could be wrong. I was thinking that he was a 3-year starter, but I could be wrong. Maybe he redshirted and then I don't
Well,
know.
maybe one of those years Pritchard backed him up because, or at least one of those years because Luck was at Stanford from '08 to 2011.
Mhm.
Luck would have started at least 2 of those years. I don't know about 2008, 2009. I don't remember.
Okay. But for me, the Hawaii how's the quarterback situation? Is
Ah,
he healthy?
real quick.
Yeah.
So after redshirting his freshman year in 2008, talking about Andrew Luck, Luck earned the starting quarterback job at Stanford in 2009 over returning starter Tavita Pritchard. So Pritchard started in '06, '07. Well, at least he started in '07 to
Uh-huh.
'08, Pritchard, but I don't know about '06. But '09, that's when Luck started for Stanford, and Pritchard would have been the backup in '09.
Okay. All right. How's the Hawaii quarterback situation? Is
Micah
Alavo
Alihado,
Alejado? Yeah, Alejado. Is he healthy?
he's healthy, but the Hawaii receiving core is not healthy.
Did they transfer the top players from last year?
A couple of them did, but then they got Pofeli Ashlock back, but
Oh,
Ashlock is still dealing with an injury right now.
yeah. I mean, he's one of their better ones, if not the best one.
And then
Um,
Jackson Harris, their other elite receiver last year for the Rainbow Warriors, he's now at LSU.
okay. All right. Yeah, I don't have anything here.
I don't either.
I could see, like I said, Stanford, they look, I don't want to say great, but they look they look they looked like a good team last year when they played Hawaii. Yeah, it was the first game of the season, but it was just terrible coaching. They went away from the run. They started throwing the ball, and they had a terrible quarterback. The quarterback kept throwing interceptions, so it didn't make any sense why they should have ran the ball 60 times. I think they ran it 40. And I think, every time they did throw the ball, he intercepted it. And one of them, I think, was for a pick six, and it cost them the game. So this spread was 4. Now it's down to 3.5. Juice to Stanford. This is one where I'll wait and see, but I got to dig a little bit deeper into this one. I don't have anything right now, but if Stanford has learned from their mistakes last year, they know to just run the football. And there's a lot of unknowns on both sides of the both teams here for me. So I don't like anything here. I don't have anything rather. What about you?
I don't have anything either. It's
Yeah.
category 4 material, so Hawaii's live to win it for me, obviously, but um and by the way, like for the folks like saying, "Well, of course you have it as category 4. It's only a field goal spread." Folks, I make all these category games like, way back in the late spring, early summer. So
Hmm.
like I'm making these games and these categories. I'm categorizing all these games before spreads are even released for week 0, much less the other weeks with these matchups.
Yeah.
So, but this was one of the very first games that I categorized as category 4. In fact, it was the very first game that I categorized as category 4. So, Hawaii's live to win it, but like I don't have any best bets. Like
Yeah. No,
I
I
don't know how
agree.
you. It's kind of hard to have a best bet in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a game I want to watch, but am I confident on either side? No. All right, next game and the last game of the night, the get out game of the night for at least Saturday, 9 p.m. Central Time. We got the Memphis Tigers taking on the UNLV Rebels. Rebels are laying 4 points here with a little bit of juice and a total of 56. You have any info for us on this game?
This will be probably my favorite matchup or one of my two favorite matchups of the day, along with Jacksonville State, North Dakota State. I'm really looking forward to that game.
Mm-hmm.
NC State, Virginia should be interesting as well. But this, I think this will be my favorite matchup ultimately of week 0. But I don't have any best bets in this game. Memphis, I believe they have 75 new players or right around 75 new
Mm-hmm.
players. UNLV, they have a lot of new players as well, and more importantly, a new starting quarterback, regardless if it ends up being Alex Orgy or the transfer from Auburn and my boy from Denton, Jackson Arnold. Um, um, I don't know what to expect in this game. Do you? Oh, that's right. You
I
do have
do.
a.
I do know what to expect.
You
I do
do.
know what
That's
to
right.
expect, and
Memphis, you're
I love
taking.
this matchup here. And I'm glad you brought up a couple little items there, which was one, 75% of new players for Memphis. It hasn't mattered for Huff. He took
Yeah.
on garbage, a dumpster, Maryland, or not Maryland, Marshall, and then what they do? They lost what, a couple games, uh, one game. What was his record at Marshall the
Oh, I don't
last
remember
year he
what
was
his
there?
record was, but I do know that they beat Notre Dame.
They did. All right, and then what did he do? He took over dumpster fire number 2 at Southern Miss, and what did he do with them? Turn them around almost immediately with new players, but some of them were from Marshall, and they still had a strong year, an extremely strong year. So much so that he landed at Memphis, perennial underachievers. Who's the lame coach that went to Arkansas? What's his name?
Ryan Silverfield.
Silver. I mean, this guy just hit the lottery. Guy's the biggest choke artist in the American Conference, and he marries up. He goes to Arkansas, he goes to SEC, and they said, "Hey, come on in. We got Walmart money. We got Tyson chicken money. Just you got whatever you need." It's like giving a monkey a machine gun. We'll see how it works out for Arkansas. I already know how it's going to work out. It's going to be terrible, but it's going to be a waste of money. It's going to be a waste of, I wouldn't say 4 years. I'll give it 2.5 years. I'll give Silverfield 2.5 years. He'll get fired. Arkansas will mess up the hiring process for the fourth, fifth. What Bilma, uh, Chad Morris, um, who Pittman, Silverfield. So this is a fifth coach. I mean, uh, uh it's. Anyways, let's get back to this game. That's all you had to say. All I know is Memphis has Huff, and who the quarterback's a transfer from. Where now? He's
Oh, Stokes from the
yeah,
FCS,
where
I
FCS.
think.
What school was it? I can't think of it. It's ruining my. Damn it. Apparently, he's pretty hot. He's a hot shot. He's a pretty good quarterback.
West Florida Division II standout Marcus Stokes.
There you go.
And then they
Never heard of
also have
him.
another
Doesn't
transfer
matter.
quarterback coming in South Carolina transfer, Air Nolan.
Air, right? His name's Air.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Memphis. I'm not too worried about that because Huff's usually he's used to dealing with having nothing to work with. Now he's got Memphis. He's like, I got all these athletes. How are they going to beat me? How are they going to beat me? So I'm going to call it right now,
It's a breath of fresh air.
a breath of fresh air. And in less than 3 years, he's going to be in 4 years or less. he's going to be the next SEC coach, and he
I
might
could
even
see
be the
that.
one that's going to be coaching Arkansas, to be honest
That
with
would be
you.
funny, wouldn't it?
So I wouldn't be surprised at that. And yeah, that's my hot take is in less than 4 years, Huff is going to be coaching an SEC school. So I'm surprised he didn't get either the Auburn job or what was the other one that was open? Florida. I get the Florida thing, but I thought Huff would have been an SEC coach. But sometimes you got to grind it out in each level, and that's what he's
LSU?
doing here. And last but not least, Jackson Arnold being a favorite in any game. I don't care what it is or who it is, who they're playing. Jackson Arnold should not be a favorite. I don't care. UNLV had a great season last year. Cal Andrea, I was high on him at Virginia. I liked his gunslinger mentality. Jackson Arnold, he's just how's he even still in school? How's he even got a starting job? So Dan Mullen, we'll see how long that lasts. And if I know that, that means Huff knows that, and he's going to scheme around that. So I don't get why I get why UNLV is favored, and I did read it last night where Phil Steele's calling for them. Not that I agree with a lot that he says or anything like that, but just notated that he's calling for them to go undefeated, 12-0.
Wow.
And I disagree because it's not going to go past week 0. I love Memphis getting 4 points here. I think this settles at 3.5. And I like Memphis to win this one outright. I know that it's a new group of guys, a new everything, but let's look at the facts here. UNLV had one of their best seasons in a few years, and they still barely beat who? Idaho State last year.
Oh, I
Um,
know UNLV got lucky. It
uh, a Mac school, Ball State, Miami, Ohio.
was Miami,
I mean,
Ohio.
they barely beat these teams, and now they're playing a legit team, even though it's at home. It's going to be a huge stadium. We know that. So I don't give UNLV a massive home advantage because they play in an NFL stadium. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's everything's. I love Memphis in this matchup for those reasons. I think I disagree with the number here. It shouldn't be any higher than 3 points for the home field advantage. But what real advantage does UNLV have in Allegiant Stadium? Again, as long as Jackson Arnold's starting for UNLV, that takes away any home field advantage. So we'll have to wait and see. And this is the game I'm looking forward to the most. And we have to wait all the way to 9 Central to watch it. But I love Memphis in this game for all of those reasons. And that's my third best bet of the day is Memphis +4. And of course, a little sprinkle on the money line, a little pizza money on the money line. But that's basically everything that I have. That's all of our best bets, I believe, for week 0. I've got NC State +4. I got Jack State +7, Memphis +4. And again, I think each one of those is a live dog. And although they're all road teams, in my opinion, on a neutral field, they're all the better team. So we'll have to wait and see. But those are my best bets. And what do you have for week 0? Just to close this out here, Connor.
I have Caden Creel, the Jacksonville State starting quarterback, to throw for at least one touchdown against an inexperienced cornerback room for North Dakota State.
Okay. And that was the only one, right?
It's my only one this week, but I wouldn't mind or I wouldn't hate a little money line sprinkle on Jacksonville State either.
Okay. I like it. I like it. But that's everything that I had. Great show. It ran a little bit longer than normal because we went into all of our futures plays here. Typically, our show is about 2 hours long. We do one on Fridays. It should be around this time, which would be 10 a.m. to 11 live on Twitter as well as YouTube. So as long as you're subscribed, following on either one of those platforms, the videos will stay up there obviously until they'll always be up there, but if you missed it live, you could still go back and watch it whichever platform you're on. We'll cut it up, post shorts on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Again, if wherever you're at, following us on whichever platform, we'll be posting on that. And if you have any questions, obviously just leave a comment. We'll see it, respond to it about any of the games. And we appreciate everyone that tuned in to watch and following along. Any new subscribers watching, and those who are in the YouTube chat, because I can't see any messages on Twitter. So if you're watching on Twitter, I do appreciate it. We do see the chats that come in from YouTube. So appreciate those who jumped in, especially Right Here News. Big Devo, thanks for watching and tuning in. You have anything for the people, Connor, before we wrap this up?
I'm looking at some of the chats now. I'm just now seeing these. Okay, let's
Oh,
see.
we had a couple. Yeah, we had a couple. Yeah, so but that's pretty much everything for this episode. Great first episode. I like what we have this season. We've got everything from a little chalky, national championship picks to some long shots for the college football playoff, some look aheads, of course, your futures that you've been doing well with the past, 4 years. And yeah, that's everything for me. Again, our schedule's basically going to be around 10 to 11 a.m. on Fridays, and we'll figure out the Monday schedule. And again, on Mondays, we'll recap the weekend as well as look ahead to the upcoming week for any look ahead lines. Sometimes we do have numbers we want to attack right away. On some games, we'll just wait till Friday. So you can catch it again. They'll be live on Twitter, it'll be live on YouTube, and then the videos, the shows will be up as well. So if you don't catch it live, it'll still be there. So anything else you want to close us out on, Connor?
Quickly running through my futures again. I've got over 5.5 for Delaware, over 6.5 for Air Force. Looking at the win totals department here, I have over 5.5 for FAU, over 7.5 for Western Michigan, over 8.5 for New Mexico, and that one's juicy at a plus money value. I like that one. And then Texas State, my favorite one of all of them for these individual win totals, over 6.5 for GJ Kinney's Bobcats. And that's still available at a very good price, minus 104 to the over there at 6.5. And then looking at my G6 playoff long shots, Texas State to make the playoff at plus 3,500. You can currently find that or find, I think the best value right now is at FanDuel at plus 2,700. That's where I found the 3,500. So the market agrees there with the Bobcats' outside chance of making the playoff. New Mexico at plus 1,600 to make the college football playoff. And then Western Michigan at 800 to 1 to make the CFP. I just put $10 on that, but I put $10 on it twice. So at two different places. So I like it. I think Western Michigan, especially if they take down Boise State, they're all of a sudden going to be talked about nationally among G6 playoff contenders. Texas State, best offense in the G6, and New Mexico, best defense in the G6. And then, of course, a couple of national championship futures. Oregon 10 to 1, Texas plus 750, Notre Dame plus 750 to win the national championship. I've got a couple of parlays there with some of my win totals, just combining them because I like them that much and just getting a little bit more of a better price there, a better value. So yeah, those are all my plays. Oh yes, and then a couple of conference win totals. Missouri under 4.5 conference, under 4.5 SEC wins for Missouri at minus 150. That's now minus 170 at DraftKings. And Cincinnati under 3.5 Big 12 wins. That was minus 120 a couple of months ago. That's now minus 156.
All right, now give me what's your national championship matchup, your
Whew.
champion, and your Heisman winner.
Heisman winner, I'll go Arch Manning. Yeah, I know it's going to be a pretty common response. So yeah, Arch Manning, I'll go for the Heisman. National champion, I'll go. This team's known to not have any national championship trophies. They're made fun of with the big O. I'll go Oregon Ducks.
Oh, Oregon. Who's Oregon to play the national championship?
I do not know. I could see Oregon against Texas or Oregon against Notre Dame. It'll just depend on regular season and how those teams are seeded. So I bet I have to give a prediction here. So I'll go Oregon against Texas.
Oregon, Texas. All right. I like it. I've got basically half of it the same. I've got Miami against Texas in the national championship. I could see Notre Dame in there and Mensa as your Heisman Trophy winner for Miami. So we'll see what happens. But
Wait, who do you have
that's
Miami
every
playing?
do what?
Who do you have
Uh,
Miami playing?
Miami against Texas.
Miami against Texas. Okay.
All right, so kind of similar, kind of similar. We'll see how it shakes out, and we'll talk about it throughout the season. Again, thanks for everyone for watching, tuning in. Please like, follow, subscribe, do all of that. We appreciate all of it. Thank you. Go ahead and check out the video if you missed it live. And that's it for episode number 1 of week 0, Johnny and the Encyclopedia College Football